Welcome back to In the Shadow of Fire. This is session number 3, and it's entitled Mystery Box. Last time, the ambassador left the town proper and headed across the big bridge, and was accompanied by two of the town higher ups. One of the town higher ups, and another person. They found a defeated dwarven group, and recovered a strange item. Um, the goings on of the town were dealt with by the leadership, and eventually they all grouped together and opened the contents of, or opened the device that they had received from the dwarves, the dead dwarves, and inside it contained some sort of strange creature, an aberration, some sort of not natural creature. And it stabbed the wizard, and then it was killed shortly thereafter. The evening time has already gone past. You have done some things out of the game in our discussion in character and our side chats. If you'd like to summarize quickly what you've done, making sure to note the important parts, feel free to do so. But beyond that, it's the next day, and the day is yours.
I mean, I don't know. If we want to summarize, I can summarize mine as went back to my place, thought about a bunch of stuff, and wrote letters to everyone just making sure that they knew to try to keep things quiet about the strange squid-like thing.
And you sent runners out with those letters, so we would have gotten them that same night. Right?
Yeah, you would have gotten them the same night.
Before getting that, I told two of my people that work for me that are childhood friends everything that happened.
Blabbermouth.
Okay. Anybody else?
Cyril went back to his tower, put salve on his wounds, and brooded about what happened.
Halo?
Yeah, and same for Switch Tower for Temple, and very similar circumstances on my end.
Minusly brooding over your wounds.
Brooding
brooding
more
in
of a
general.
pride thing than anything. His wounds are my wounds because I tried to protect him with my barrier, and that didn't stop the damage, and I took that damage just as much as he took that damage in the character's mind.
Okay. Yeah, it's morning of the next day, and that again, I don't have much for the initiating part, or anything like that. I just want to know what your plans are for the day.
Can you remind us when the ambassador's due back?
It should take 3 days to get there, presumably 2 days stay over, and 3 day return trip.
So we've got some
Okay.
time.
So, I actually do have something that I specifically want to do, which I thought of. I want to call. I should have. Alright, I'm sorry. It will take me a while to get the names down.
Sure.
It begins with a.
Keep cutting out.
But yeah, I'm here. And
call
I'm
it none
going
of that.
to. What?
You keep cutting out.
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I okay now?
Yeah, it's just like once the sentence sounds like it's going to come to the thrust of what you're talking about, you just not talk anymore.
Thank you, Discord, for being amazing. Okay. So what I was trying to say, and hopefully you can all hear this and it doesn't cut out, if not I might leave and restart Discord, is I want to get Valesha to take people and investigate this mastiff ship. Just look it over and see if there's any other clues. I know that it said that it's cleared out, but I still want her to do a thorough investigation of the ship
Okay.
with some of her best people.
I genuinely, throughout the entirety of that, wanted to start saying, "I can't hear you," just to troll you. But Valesha serves at your pleasure, and she and a contingent of Town's Guard will go and basically do a thorough rundown of the Mastiff ship that was captured by Reams and left with you in Kasari Yanwi.
Okay, I caught none of that. My Discord froze. I'm gonna exit
Yeah.
and re-enter.
He pulled it on me. He pulled it on me. I had the good joke, and he stole it.
You just
No,
shoved it right back in your face.
He
I'll
just
be back.
Restart your Discord.
restarted it. Okay. Anybody else have anything that they have in mind planned?
Not for the morning. I would probably do the same routine that we went through last session. Keeping an extra eye out for that guy who ran off. Whether or not he's here this morning is up to you.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming he didn't come back.
Right.
So no, nothing happens.
Yeah, he did not return.
Aside from awaiting a job notice from a traveling merchant, about squid-like creatures, I guess part of my routine is just kind of going over the numbers from the day before, any requests that might need special attention to, just sort of do like a little team meeting, with my 3 retainers, and then
Maybe inform them of the fact that they're not supposed to share anything that you told them now that you got the letter and you didn't have a chance to tell them that you got the letter.
One, the accountant doesn't know because he was kind of appointed by the Lord. So, I mean, I trust him to keep the books, but he's not in my inner circle of trust. 2, I had already, even on my own volition, kind of mentioned, like, don't talk about this. They're like, don't want to talk about this, because I think we were even given that idea last night. Like, don't talk about this, don't share it with others. Me, I'm going to share it with them because they know me, I know them, we trust each other. But like, past that, don't tell anyone, because they help me run the place. I want them to know what they need to know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Totally makes sense.
And then I would also, once I get the job notice from the traveling merchant about squid-like creatures, all in quotations, I would also just sort of put a general notice, like, as I'm kind of like giving them a rundown of that, the new job notice. I would also mention if any of their hunts take them to the Nadrasi Isle, just to, I might be able to spare them some gold if they catch wind of any siege equipment.
Yeah, and I would like to say that there is actually like 9 gold with the sent over with it, just as a initial amount.
You would note that, according to your books, that it looks like most of the business has been pretty just standard fare and nothing outside of what you would expect. As you're kind of inspecting the notes, the last person who is a part of the Monster Hunters Guild who had made headway into the Nadrasi Isle is kind of a famous individual amongst your group. Someone that you kind of see as like one of the higher tier hunters, and his name is Asher. Asher typically will typically roll with a group that is pretty close to Asher, but the 2 other individuals are kind of natives, local-born individuals to the Rended Isle, whereas Asher is from the Akaskari wildlands.
That's is that where the orcs are from?
Well, the primary individuals, right? They are the effectively the guardians on the wall. They defend the rest of the Dragon Isles from the twisted, chaotic abominations that come out of the wildlands. The whole region is called the Wildlands, but the territories that are controlled by former Empire settlements and that have been taken over by the Horde, I believe, is what it's called. I forget what the name of the group is called. Go into my notes.
The Horde.
It sounds too World of Warcraft. I couldn't have done that. I
mean,
probably did.
It does kind of sound. World of
I couldn't
Warcraft.
have done that. Some through notes. Did I? Oh
I'm
god.
like, I probably did. Kalaric. Yeah, Kalaric's Horde.
So close.
The cloaca?
No, don't make it weird.
Also, Kevin, I believe, is here now, right, Kevin?
I don't see Kevin.
I am here.
I don't
See,
see
you can
Kevin.
hear
I don't see him. He's not in the game.
He doesn't exist to me.
I'm loading it up right now.
Does not exist if he doesn't exist.
It's okay, Kevin. We haven't done anything except for execute your character.
That's okay. I'm gonna have to build another one then.
It's fine.
Got a mayor open.
Or a captain of the guard.
But before that
So-
time, sorry, because we were cut off with shenanigans, and I'll get right back to you. Sorry, but Asher is the most recent return from the Nadrasi island. Not many who go into the woods there come back. It is a pretty hostile territory, and only a couple of the higher tier hunters are capable of going in and bringing anything back. Go ahead, Andy. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say that if I could, I would want Cyril would be doing some more research about what he learned, what he knows about Darkhelm Reigns, about King Zod, about Balinroth, and the Eye of the Earth.
Okay. If you're just generically studying, then the information that's in the handout is more than sufficient. But if you're asking specific questions, then you can go ahead and field those, and I can tell you if they require rolls or not.
What, in terms of just like general knowledge? Sorry, I missed that because I was.
Yeah.
typing.
That's okay. So I was asking about the location where we think the schism is. So do I know anything about the nature of the Eye of the Earth? Like specifically like a magical nature? Would there be notes about that?
It's nothing more than a lake high up in a mountain range that has Darkhelm, the city, set near it.
So is there any word that that might be some sort of a portal?
No.
Okay.
Also, sort of going off of that same general area in terms of knowledge, in terms of like political stuff, like obviously there's what was in the handout, but like in terms of stuff with like the what's it, that Astrid, what's the one in the northwesterly section? I'll look up-
Asteria.
Yes, Asteria. Or Altaria.
Altaria, sorry, what did I say?
You said Asteria. It's fine.
I
You
don't
were
know
off
my
by
own stuff.
You were much closer than I was. Let's put it that way. In terms of like Altaria, do we necessarily know, like, do they have any stake in like a war if it broke out between like the Free Kingdoms and the Adamant Isle, or?
Altaria
No, just-
is aligned with the dwarves of the Balinroth dwarves. They have been pretty early on since their inception here in the Dragon Isles, since the Empire started kind of taking over. So yeah, they're pretty tight allies. Altaria does not like the Free United Kingdoms because they are basically splinter cells from them. It's like a much fresher idea of England to America, but yeah, similar kind of concept there. These kingdoms have kind of upstarted away from Altaria proper, and then yeah, you should know the relations compared to you and yours.
Yeah.
Puts us in a shitty spot.
Stuck in the middle.
Who picked this island?
I don't know.
Was an asshole, I think.
Probably.
So, any other questions or goings on that you wish to engage in?
Kevin, is there anything your character does in the morning that you would like to do now that you're here to join us?
Or do
But
you
you
want
didn't-
to summarize what you did in the evening before?
Right.
No. I can't think of anything in particular. Anything special. You know, I probably would just, if I had a gig that night, get ready for that or whatever. Or just, you know, I kind of laze around.
Yeah, it's the effectively the start of the week or start of the 6th day. So
Right.
there really isn't much in the way of merriment to be had. Most people are kind of noses to the grindstone kind of situation, getting straight to
Most
it.
of the restaurants are closed Monday night. And,
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just relaxing. It's my Sunday.
Fair.
I would probably, if Asher had just gotten back from the Madrasi, I might try to seek him out to see, ask him directly, like if he had seen any signs of
Okay.
squid-like creatures or siege equipment.
So Asher is not one of yours. As I mentioned last session, there are ones that you basically have that follow you. Asher is one of the ones that is not loyal to you. He is a monster hunter. He is a part of the guild, but he is his own person. Where he stays, you don't really have that information
Okay.
on hand. It would definitely be something you'd need to seek out. Your accountant might have it.
Okay, I'll go. Oh gosh, what? It's sad that I don't remember it. Badgel, good old Badgel.
Ah!
Badgel. I heard that Asher just got back from the Drosy.
Like a
have nowhere to
6 day
find
ago.
Well, okay, but do you know where I might be able to find him?
Yeah. He usually just picks up his pay here. We don't send it out to him. If he's anywhere this early, probably asleep in some inn room or out at some damsel's house. Or
He is kind of popular, ain't he?
or gentleman. I don't think he minds either way.
Alright, I'll see if I can have Fenrir just go out as a runner. Keep an eye out
so
for him.
basically, he's in somewhere.
Fair. So yeah, if you send out a runner.
He said that he was gone. He got back like a 6 day ago, though. So
He didn't
might not
report
even have-
anything.
What's that?
He didn't report anything. But again, they're not bound to you to do so.
Right, but so that's the thing is that would I even think that I'm thinking so this dwarf thing happened in my head somewhat recently.
Sure.
So that might not even overlap with the 6 day since he's been
That's fair.
gone. But I'll still have I think Fenrir keep an eye out and just say if he has the time, come see me.
Yeah, that's fair.
Might as well cover our bases since I never actually went to go get an age on the time of death for the bodies.
Yep. All right. Go ahead and roll a D100 for whether or not your runner gets him or not.
30.
And we use a lot of runners, guys.
That is exactly what you needed, or less. All right, perfect. Somewhere around late mid-morning, your runner comes back. It states that Asher appears to be currently residing at a tavern inn called the Sweet Misery.
Alright. I'd head over there.
Okay. All right. Anybody else anything to do besides Tim, or is Tim the one I'm focusing on for now?
So, The only other thing that I wanted to do was I did want to, at some point, talk to Cyril.
Go nuts.
So I'd imagine, unless he, objected to coming out of his tower, I'd want to meet him like privately somewhere in the. Is it? What is like the place that I say? Is it like a palace or just like a like I'm not sure what to call it. Mansion.
It would be whatever you want to call it.
Giant
It's
tree.
technically in our rule set called a keep, but you can call it whatever you want.
Keep. That's what I was. Okay, keep. Thank you.
Mhm.
Meet me somewhere privately in the keep.
Yeah, sure. So if you called for him, he would definitely show up.
Right. Alright, so I did go over some of my wild and crazy theories in the side chat. I don't know if you read through that, Andy, in terms of.
Well, why don't you give me a recap of some of it in character, just so.
Right. I'm going to pull it up just so that I make sure that I actually get it all right. Hey, you don't know. So Cyril, right now this massive ship seems too convenient, especially with it being bare, from what I've heard. I have reports that this Captain Rainier went back to his ship and ended up staying on it the entire night. I don't know much more than that, but the whole thing seems odd to me, and I'm just trying to figure out what might be going on. Like, is this simply, are the Adamant Isles trying to cause problems and provoke us? Are they trying to start a war? Is someone else trying to do this? I mean, I know that the Altair Empire is allied with them, so I can't see them as much trying to drag us in, but I could see possibly someone else wanting to drag us in either to weaken us or to strengthen the sides of the free United Kingdoms. Like, is there someone trying to drag us in from the free United Kingdom so they can have better chances of winning? Is possibly Manacled Bay trying to draw us in to weaken us? What do you think?
Well, we live in turbulent times when we're often pitted against each other, so I think that your instincts are good. The question is not so much how and which kingdom, I mean, but whether they're doing it, but which one. And so I think we need to I would advise that you try to determine that information with spies or some other kind of clever trap.
Yes, well, setting something up like that will take some time, but I do agree. I did send Valesha over to look at the ship, but I don't know if your arcane arts might be able to reveal something more that she might not be able to see. I don't know if you're necessarily feeling up for that, or if you have an assistant you can send to check things over, but I wouldn't mind having just someone else, with the arcane arts look over things.
I would be happy to do that if you provide an escort. I'm not feeling quite myself.
Of course.
This will not count as a day of rest for you, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, if it would count as a day of rest for him or not.
So am I exhausted?
No, you're still wounded.
Okay.
Yeah, you're wounded. That's the reason why, I was asking if you.
I mean, I do have an apprentice, but that person probably would not be as effective.
Your
at what we're
apprentice
trying
can
to accomplish.
cast 3 rituals: detect magic, identify, and comprehend languages. But they cast them as rituals.
So, I mean, your assistant could go and detect magic, which would at least help, and if, identify things, and if you are needed for something specific. But yeah, I don't want to necessarily have you not rest and to not get that vitality back if you don't,
I will leave the decision to you.
Oh my gosh. I'm asking you, though, what you want to do with your character.
I know in character.
I'm fine either way.
In character, Cyril would would leave the decision to the leader of the town.
Oh my gosh, you're being such a bun.
You mean loyal and
So
subservient?
basically, if it's really important to you, then
Okay, then
Cyril
we'll
would go out there and do it and risk his own health.
we'll do what I suggested. Send your apprentice. He can detect magic. If he does not find anything of import on the ship, no time lost on your end. If he does, then he can call for you.
Absolutely, she would be happy to do that. So Cyril would send word for Arave to come, to talk with the two of us, so you could give instruction.
Okay. Not very long after word is sent for her, she would arrive. She wears a cloak not too dissimilar from her teachers, and just simple kind of traveling clothes, kind of a purplish motif across the board, and I believe she has brown hair. Double checking. Yep.
It's in the game, yeah.
Brownish hair, reddish brown hair. She's got a book under her arm, and she says, "Yes, you sent for me?"
Cyril would say, yes, Alcantara has, or Lady Alcantara has a task for you while I'm recovering. I assume that she's going to provide a guard for your protection.
She turns her attention to the lady in the town.
Yes, there's a ship in the bay. It is, as of current, completely barren, unoccupied. It seems to be from the Mastiff Peninsula, and I was just hoping that you could go there and check around it for anything that might be magical or illusion based that we may need to look into. I don't expect there to be anything, but or as it is a pirate ship, but it is one of those things where we can never be too cautious, I feel like.
Okay. It's just at the docks,
Yes.
and if anybody stops me from entering the ship, what should I tell them?
I will send a guard with you that will have direct instructions from me. And I'm going to, I know I have a scribe, I can't remember which one it is. I think it's Eldrin.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to just have Eldrin, like, write up something ridiculously fast,
He does.
put my stamp on it, and give it to the girl
Okay.
to take.
He does.
And then I'm going to send her with Eldrin and have Eldrin just get 2 guards to escort her to the ship.
Okay. Handled.
Before she leaves, Cyril would say, take care, Arave. Please take good notes and report back to me when you come back.
Of course. And she heads off. Alright. Halo, anything that you're doing in particular? Oh, not there. Don't see him. Leaf.
He's there. He just was off screen.
He's eating.
Sorry, I'm here. Yeah, I'm good. What up? I'm
Do,
good.
do you have anything you want to interject before I get to Tim?
Oh, no.
And last but not least, before Tim, Kevin, do you have anything you want to interject before I get to the part where story happens?
Nope. Sorry about that. I
No.
was in and out. Sorry.
No worries. All right, so you get report of where he's located. You arrive at the Sweet Misery. It's a small tap room connected to kind of a very small apartment-based kind of inn rest place, closer to shore than to the entry to the town. So it's typically frequented by saltier individuals. And there's definitely a certain kind of air about the place that is a bit more open-end, even though it's kind of in the earlier portion of spring. The only other person in the main tap room when you enter in is a dwarf who is walking around behind a bar, sees you enter in, kind of looks at you, has a cleaning rag in one hand. He says, "We're not officially open, only to guests. Can I help you?"
I was just here to come see one of your guests. If that's a problem, I can come back later.
We typically don't really give information about our guests to random individuals who enter in. So if you know his room number, you can feel free, but if not, can't help you.
But I'm no random stranger.
No. Is it? I don't mean to insult you, but no. Wait. I'm trying to think how I'd actually approach that. I would just say, not a problem. I'll wait outside till I take note of him leaving.
I suppose that's fair, but I am going to tell him before he goes out of your presence. So if you're here to rough him up or whatever, then
Not at all. Just needed to pick his brain a bit about what he's seen. Asher.
what
you
he's
can, you can let him know that it's Elaire
what he's
from
seen.
the guilds.
Oh! Now I know where I recognize you from. Yeah, you're the Margrave, the magnate. Yeah,
Eh,
yeah,
it's more trouble than it's worth, but yeah.
you run the guild there. I'm sorry. Yeah, Asher Sunwalker. He's in room 42.
Thank you kindly. And as I head towards the stairs, I just missed over.
He catches it and pockets it. You head to room 42. It's closed. It's quiet in this hallway.
I from out real quick. You said Asher Sunwalker.
Mm-hmm.
All right. At the door, I would just at first take a listen, just to do I hear any kind of noises of people moving yet from inside?
Nah, it sounds completely still as the grave. Yeah.
I would wait probably 10 minutes to give a chance to hear anything from inside.
Nada.
Alright. At that point I would just gently
All right. You hear yeah. Hold on.
This is where we find the dead body, guys.
The lock on the door. You hear it.
Dead body that answers the door.
Yeah.
You hear a
that
lock kind of undone. The door opens. You see a about 6'10" orc standing in front of you. Kind of like just grizzled hair, kind of growing up on the sides of his face, like mutton chops, and a little bit of a kind of beard, scraggly as well. His hair is wild and loose but long. If he were to kind of take the time to style it, or if he does so, just having caught him having just woken up, it's very impressive looking hair. His left ear is knocked. Looks like there's been like a cut out of his ear. He has tusks, which are slightly yellowed on their tips, and his eyes also kind of have a yellowish tinge to the pupils around the dark pupils, and yeah, you can see his armor kind of just laying on the ground, just unceremoniously, dwarvish plate with kind of shoulder spikes. And then a massive greatsword, full blade actually, yellowish in color. The metal you're not terribly familiar with, and a large red round stone set in the sword guard. When he's dressed, and you've seen him dressed before, he would look like that.
awesome.
But he's currently in his pants, the British definition of pants. And
So
looking
the,
at
the proper definition.
yeah, fair enough, I guess. And he's kind of looking at you. What's up, boss? He says sarcastically.
Yeah. I was wondering if I could buy you breakfast and ask you about your recent travels.
He kind of looks back into the room, and you can see that there are two forms in the bed. He kind of looks at you and says, "Yeah, sure. Let me just get my stuff. I'll meet you down in the common room?
All right.
All right.
I'll treat them too if you want.
I think I'm done with them. He shuts the door, and he shuts the door. And after a fashion, if you are in the common room just sitting and waiting, a younger, I'd say probably in their 80s, maybe 90s, couple elves. You can see that they're wearing the marriage bond rings, kind of come out from that direction and head out. Eventually, Asher comes walking in full kit and gear, kind of just idly holding his sword over his shoulder. Walks over to you.
And if possible, I would have like told the dwarf to like, if you know what Asher normally has for breakfast, to get it ready
Sure.
for him.
By the time he comes out, then Asher sets his sword next to the table, and the dwarf comes out with 2 plates. Sets them out. A large roll of bread with kind of sugar on the top, and a total of, I guess, 1 for you, 1 cup of whatever you'd ask for to drink, and then 2 cups for Asher. 1 piping hot, looks like there's steam coming off of it, and the other one looks like it's been chilled.
Lovely. I'd probably ask for the equivalent to black coffee.
Yeah, so that's what you'd have, and it looks similar to what he has in his steaming cup. Asher sits there, kind of looks at the food, and looks at you. If you want to do the talking and I'll listen. Oh, wait, no, you want to hear what I have to say. What did... And he shrugs and looks at the food. Give me a couple minutes.
No problem.
You ask your questions, and I'll try and get at you between bites. How's that? We'll meet halfway.
Sounds great. So yeah, I heard you last 6 day got back from the Jurassic Isles, and thought I'd just see if you saw anything out of the ordinary. I know we just got a request in this morning from some merchant about some squid-like creatures over there.
He seems to be very formally cutting his food and kind of getting it into like a stack. So it's egg, bacon, and what looks to be mashed potato. And he basically is kind of like forming a nice, grouping of that, and then eating it with each one of the flavors together at once, and not just one at a time moving through it. It seems like he's mixing the meal, which depending on your style, is a hot mess, or just
or the right way to consume food.
Yeah, either way, But after you ask the question, he kind of stops for a second, kind of looks at you, tapping his fork against the plate. Well, last time we went in, we talked to the natives. They had said they saw, they thought was a dragon on the western coast. Did some thinking about it, and if it was a dragon, it was going to be a blue dragon, being coastal like that, probably, based on what I know. And we found out it wasn't a dragon at all. It was a wyvern, and we brought back its tail and a couple of its teeth for sale at market. Obviously returning our percentage to the guild, of course, and for dues. He kind of looks at you and then looks at his food. The elves were really wary of us this go around. They typically aren't. You know how it goes. Sometimes they're very territorial, and sometimes they're more than happy to see folks like us, I guess. This time was a weird mix of the two. They weren't really willing to let us stay with them, but they told us where the wyvern was located and how to go on about finding it. He looks down at his food. We did fight a weird creature on the way there. Didn't give us much trouble.
What did it look like?
Well, it was blue, was about the height of a man, and it had weird tentacles for legs, spikes for hands, 6 red eyes. We killed it. And I believe, since we were focused on the wyvern hunt, the only thing that got kept was one of them claws. And he kind of reaches into his bundle, pulls it out, sets it down on the table. It's about 1.5 feet long. Looks like it is kind of curved, but not like full on like downward curve. Like it's got maybe like just got a nice bend to it. Looks like it's the same wooden material that impaled Cyril's shoulder the night before, but it looks like this has been extracted, like removed from the meat of it at the bone. So it looks like it's like the whole hand effectively, and the bottom portion, the skin's been removed and it's been bound with leather. It almost gives it a nice for his hands, no problem. For yours, which are probably a bit smaller, maybe a little not as keen at doing it, but he could probably hold it as a dagger.
So you made quick work to turn it into something usable.
Well, that's typically what we do with everything. He grins. My Arcturus made a cloak out of the wyvern's hide. I mean, we definitely made what we could of what we kept. So he kind of shrugs. Why, I heard you went over that way just recently too, didn't you? Yesterday or the day before, was it?
Yeah, had to do an escort for the War Maiden's sister.
Yeah, I stopped in looking for a bit more work yesterday. But, Bagdill said that, Badgill said that there were some displacer beasts in the forest, so I'll probably go deal with them, I guess.
Nice. Alright, so this is me just trying to quick double check. The main thing, because I would be trying to follow Elcontra's directive on this. Was anything mentioned about not talking about the siege engines that got stolen? Because I thought it was mainly the squid things you're trying to keep under wraps, correct?
I mean, that was mostly because I forgot about the siege engines. Proceed however you feel like.
Okay, good to know.
I probably would have added the siege engines if I'd remembered them, but
Real quick, Tim, you're pretty readable, right? Like, you would have saw the thing put out on the table, and you wouldn't have been able to, like, kept a calm face. You would have been like, oh, like, kind of, oh, shit kind of face, right?
Yeah, I'm not really a deceptive person. I'm pretty, you see what you get, so I'm like.
So he says to you, so, are you interested? And he points at the dagger. Are you interested in something like this? We don't know what it was. We don't know what it was called. Well, no, yeah. Actually, what the hell was she calling it? Imgrid said it was called a. I don't remember what she said it was.
Shakira?
Ingrid.
No, you said a sh sound, and so I'm guessing Shakira.
Yeah, right. The hips don't lie.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Well, with tentacles, I'm sure they wouldn't.
Tentacles.
As
So
opposed to 5 tickles.
he says, yeah, she said it was schism. That's what it said. It was.
What's that?
No idea. But, I mean, it's not something I've ever seen before, and I'm from the Wildlands. He gestures towards it. It's gotta be worth something to you.
Yeah, well, I got a contract for Squid Lake. It sounds like something had tentacles that you fought, and on that. It was, Matt, real quick, it was 3 gold for the thing.
3 gold. Yeah, just as
All
like
right.
a.
So I'd mentioned that 3 gold for the contract and whatever you'd want for that piece of art right there.
Oh, I just get 3 gold for just having done it, huh?
Yeah.
Huh. Oh, schism, then. That's what they're called? That's not too bad. Splicer beasts are usually 20, but a lot harder to take down. Um, yeah, it wasn't too much trouble. And I already put some leather on it, I guess. You know what? You go ahead and give me another 3 gold and we're even.
Sounds good to me.
It's a little fancier than just a dagger, I guess.
Oh darn! What was the number there? I think it was 15. So now I'm down to 9. Okay. Cool.
All right, he passes you over the dagger and takes his coin, grins, and if you have any other business with him, just let me know.
Well, good luck in your hunts with those displacer beasts. I hope you can rack up a nice many pelts.
Yeah, we'll probably leave out tomorrow. Me, Imgrind, and that other one I said the name of.
Arcturus.
That's the one, Arcturus. That's the name of a Pokemon god,
Alright.
isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So basically, this guy is just like, he's fine.
Ash Ketchum.
I don't think Ash actually ever caught that. He's more like Red.
Acturus. We're gonna go ahead and just remove the R and.
Gosh. Alright, also, this is just because I am stupid and terrible at spelling. How do you spell schism? Can someone, like, just put it in the chat somewhere?
SCHISM. Like the word schism. It's certainly not the way Kevin spelled it.
I spelled
SKIZM.
that French way.
Schism.
ISM.
He's gonna hate.
These make it cool.
Relatively phonetic.
I
Alright,
just wanted to make sure there wasn't anything different that I missed. for my notes.
real quick, John, how much would it have been to buy him breakfast?
You're pretty sure he gets it free with the room, so
Okay. Oh, well, there you go.
most places add that in.
So, what's a midi brew? How much would a night there be, I guess, is what I would have ended up doing.
Yeah, probably about 3 gold. So you're out 9 if you're total.
Yep. I am trying to take care of the hunters.
That's all the gold I gave you.
Yep. And you would know that he wields a really massive yellow blade. Again, the material of which it is made out of, you are not sure. It's definitely something from the wildlands, to be certain. But it is a massive blade. The best size comparison I can kind of grant you is we're talking size-wise, comparing on par
It's
with
as big as me.
It's as big as yeah, definitely. It's like the Buster Sword from Final Fantasy VII. It's like it's
Yeah.
a big old blade.
Actually, as we're leaving, just out of curiosity, what is that? What is that beautiful blade made out of? I've
Huh?
never seen it like.
Oh, star metal.
Wow.
It's Kalar gives it to only the finest of the defenders. I earned it by helping him destroy one of the shards. He kind of looks down at his food, like he's in his own kind of mind.
Well, maybe that's a story for another day that I'd love to hear. If you're
Yeah.
willing to share.
Yeah, maybe. He nods his head. Thanks for the coin. Thanks for the room and all.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
You too. All right.
And from there, so real quick, I'm gonna dock back 3 gold for the contract that I paid him, and then everything else was out of my pocket.
Sure.
But 2, I would then head from there. Just for timeline, I'd probably head over to bring the dagger to Cyril.
Okay. So to the tower then.
To the tower.
All right. Well, when you get there, he's not there.
I guess if that's the case, I would just head back to Gildyland and the Guild Hall and have good old Fenfear go wait in my stead.
Okay. At the tower?
No, you know what? From there, actually, I'll pop over to the keep to see
Okay.
if Hildcontra's in.
We'll deal with that in a bit. Leaf, Halo, you've been pretty quiet, the two of you. Go ahead and give me some discussion as to what you're planning on doing for the day.
You want to go ahead?
No.
No, he does not.
So grumpy.
All right. Yeah.
What's grumpy color?
All right. Well, what would Leaf do on his day off?
It's probably brown.
Every day is a day off for Leaf.
Not true. He works very hard at writing songs, and playing songs. He also does. Maybe he'd do a research day. He'd probably go to the local library, check out like some classic romances and some other stuff. Because he is a lore bard, so he likes that stuff. But then he would also maybe do some searching into like ancient renowned bardic elven people, or just any people. Actually, he wouldn't care if they're elves or not, but somebody that was known for making music, and just do that. Just do a little bit of everything that day.
Okay. Sounds
Unless
good.
one of my friends calls upon me for something, but
Absolutely. You would receive the letter just like everyone else, right? You sent it to him as well?
Well, yeah. I mean, that was sent right after I got back from my place,
Okay.
so he would have gotten it the night before.
Fair.
oh yes, about that letter. I had the lyrics already for the song, but now I just kept the actual music so that I can play the song without having the title it used to have, and just kind of play it as an instrumental now. And I know that someday, if this ever gets out, I could just add my lyrics right in there. So I'm keeping it secret.
Fair.
Keeping it safe.
Yep, I got to keep this on the down low.
And what about you, Halo?
I don't have a whole lot going on. Just trying to keep the temple obviously running. I mean, it's a decent-sized operation for this town, so I imagine it takes a relative amount of checking in and hands-on activity. Especially since I skipped out on the glass glowing class yesterday, so I would want to make sure that my presence was there today, and like I was with the students in the temple, because I spent a decent amount of time out and about.
Would you
Okay.
have kept an eye out for Lazo out of curiosity, or
That
Yeah.
is, I'm
He's just gone.
specifically staying at the temple, hoping that he comes back.
Okay. Yeah, not a problem. You pretty much don't do much during the day. There really isn't too much different than what your normal exercise would be. Eventually, though, one of the folks from a field kind of comes into the temple proper, kind of yelling, asking for, Flaxius. And it seems like he's very concerned, like he has something pressing. He says, "Where's Flaxius?" And he doesn't really see you, but it seems to be looking for the groundskeeper.
I will immediately fly up to him and be like, I'm not sure, but can I help?
Yes, Halo, you gotta come see this. It's really strange. Out in the field. I don't know where it came from or who did it, or if it's I don't know who it is. I gotta show you. Flaxius needs
That's
to
fine.
see it too.
Take me there first, brother.
As he's kind of walking along, and like it seems like he's kind of looking around so no one.
I would actually urge him, like, not at a like full sprint pace, but like we're not gonna walk there. Like, there's
Sure.
a bit of urgency to how I want him to get there.
But you know how like you're leaving one location and you're moving to another location. There's kind of like that block in between where it's pretty quiet, and normally nothing
Yeah.
happens in D&D when that's happening. That's not the case this time around. It's that he says, as you're moving, he says, "Okay, no one's listening. It's a person's head on a piece of wood."
Awesome.
Then we move quicker, brother.
Yeah, it was just there in the shack, and he continues running on.
God damn it.
You get to basically it's where workers will lounge and kind of stop and settle in.
Wait, hold on. It was in the shack?
Yeah, so Love Shack, baby.
Oh, right.
Right.
That kind of shack. For some reason, I went to, like, Lakers shack.
Oh, like okay, like shack, because that juicy shack meat. I get you. That makes sense.
Right, they cut him open like in fucking the second. Oh my god.
Anyway.
Oh my god. Don't worry about me.
So there are a couple of farmers outside who are kind of like looks like they're kind of saying prayers, and are staying outside of the shack. And this younger man kind of rushes up to it, and kind of gestures inside. His head's in there, and he kind of like leads you in and kind of points to the item in question, and it appears to be a head of an elf that has been decapitated, and apparently it looks like it has been taxidermied into kind of a sick, ghastly kind of face, kind of locked in a death scream, and you recognize
Fancy.
the face. You recognize the face.
That's my boy Lazo, right?
Lazo's head appears to be mounted on a block of wood and set out on the
Damn it.
rest table in the...
Things are getting fun, guys.
Okay. How many people are
5.
here?
The one who ran you to them, 2 other farmers who are pretty old school. They've been around for a long time. They kind of like the lay of the land. And then 2 newer individuals who you would know came out from the Free Kingdoms. They're both human, but they are only staying here long enough to kind of make a bit of currency, as they are selling some items in the market. But again, it's not a situation where they're just selling it and they're getting the coin. They're actually kind of waiting for someone to actually sell it for full cost so they can continue on their journeys, which, based on your conversations, you probably know you're pretty, charismatic individual. It sounds like they are heading towards the Mastiff Isle, or the Mastiff Peninsula.
Okay. Can I ask how often does something like this happen here in our history? How is this
What,
something
random
that
heads
really-
found in a shack?
or any sort of act of violence? How frequent? What is the violence rate in this city as a whole? I guess is my question. How much exposure would us as characters be to something like this scene?
It's a port town, first off, so most of the violence kind of comes in from ports, if at all. It's going to be surly sailors and folks who kind of get rowdy and the guard have to deal with. There definitely are crimes of passion that arise every so often. Elves are a very passionate people, and sometimes that can lead to open conflict. So it's not like you're not living in, I'm trying to think of like a peaceful. You're not living in like a utopia. You're not living in Xanadu or whatever. You do have normal problems. However, the ratio of individuals, percentage-wise, that have their heads taxidermied, exsanguinated, taxidermied, and mounted to a block of wood is Well, I guess now there is at least some measure of account, but that's about it.
Right. It's a statistic that probably didn't count before today.
Right.
I'm sorry, I missed the statistics joke, and now I feel left out.
So he asked
I love.
he asked about like the
statistics
crime
jokes.
rate, like how often bad stuff happens, and I explained that yeah, bad stuff happens. It's a normal port town. Sure, it happens. There's crimes of passion. Their elves are very passionate, people.
Right.
And then I said,
But this is probably the first episode of Dexter that's happened.
uh-huh.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Or the end of
like
that movie. What's in the box?
Well, it's
But-
what's in the shack.
Tim gain inspiration. Tim gain
dude.
inspiration. The name of this session is Mystery Box.
So if I already have inspiration, I
Give
can
it
give it
to
to
someone
someone else. Zach, do you have inspiration?
Yep.
Can I just turn it in for XP?
Fuck the rest of you.
That's actually an
I
in-character
love you
decision, by the way.
So much, Tim.
I'll give it to.
Who doesn't have it?
Yeah, who doesn't have it?
So
Literally anyone else.
I traveled with Leaf, so I'll give it.
Ah.
he's not even one of
It
the ruling
comes back
class.
around because I can
Oh my
give
gosh.
inspiration to anybody, but not the same
No, dude,
kind.
pretty
He's
people are the
betraying me.
ruling class. Let's be honest here.
Halo, do you have history as a trained skill?
No, I do have religion,
Doesn't help.
not history.
But yeah, you have you Doo-doo-doo-doo, the head of Lazo on a block of wood.
I'd
Awesome.
like to see him try to take it anywhere concealed, seeing as he's a fairy.
He would
I have
literally
the
just be
ability to shrink things, so I don't know if you
Yeah.
know the class. But,
Yeah.
That makes things a lot easier to conceal then, because if you
Yeah.
couldn't drink it, I'm just
the wording right there. Any item I can shrink to carry as like magically to my own size.
He was imagining the head flying around though.
Especially if he's holding it in front of him.
Well, no. So they would have to because there'd be weight differential, and they have to kind of lift up. So it'd be like the Medusa heads from Castlevania. Wonderful, but okay, you can
You
shrink
guys
it down.
ever want to do some puppeteering acts with some guards later when we get into a fight? Like we know what to do.
Oh, I am here.
I've come back from the dead. That's just my decomposing head.
Oh no, it's not. It doesn't appear to be decomposing. A quick
Right,
note on
well,
that.
taxidermy. I meant like when we do this later with a guard that we
Yeah.
chop head off
Not
and-
currently, but
We're
later.
not gonna, we're gonna do this with this poor bastard. That's so
Yeah.
sad. No, we're gonna do this and chop the head off of another poor individual.
That
Yeah,
makes
we
sense.
don't do this with our friends. We only do it with our enemies.
Of course. But do you want to shrink the head down and take it with you?
Absolutely not. We're out of the main like thoroughfare in here, so
Yeah.
we're not able to be seen by the general public where we are. So what
Correct.
I'd like to do is get the older farmers that I know, fly over to them and try and ask them if they will stand at the front and protect any children or any younglings or any others from exposure to this. Like, they don't need to see this. They
Oh,
don't need to go on here. Like, they don't need to stay. But if they could please just wait while I find
Yeah.
other help.
yeah. Well, I mean, we've been sitting around for a while now. Do you want us to stay seated, or do you want us to get back to the field? We took our break.
Your day is fine. I'm sure we will be okay with 1 day's rest. I'd actually prefer it if you could stay on the scene here and keep others from exposing themselves to this. It's unnecessary. in my
Okay.
opinion.
Yeah, you got it.
No?
Yeah, that's fine.
At the very least, we can protect the children.
The two humans kind of overhear this and go, "Oh well, he doesn't want us to work." They seem to start walking away from the shack and heading back to the temple.
And you two, is there
Huh?
anything you'd like to help with for the rest of this today?
Well, our break got ruined. I'm just real tired. I was gonna take a good night's rest, and well, there's that guy Lazo's head in there.
Of course. Would you like some help relaxing?
The other person says, Lazo? What, you know him? He says, yeah, he worked with us. He came from somewhere. You don't pay attention to anybody. To names, do you? The other guy goes, yeah, I guess not. The other guy says,
Honest.
Halo. And the other guy goes, his name's Halo? That's on the nose. And the other guy looks at him and says, look, just because you're not paying attention to people's names when they address themselves to you doesn't mean you need to ruin this conversation. Give me a second. Turns and looks back at you. Once we get done resting up a little bit, is there anything around the temple we could do?
I'm sure there's lots you could do, but first, do you mind telling me a bit more about this gentleman? I had only met him yesterday and had only a brief conversation.
Yeah, he said he came out from the wood to the north here, and we didn't talk too much. You don't really have much for time for talking when you're working. But I remember him saying that he really wanted to talk to Lady Alcantara. That's her name, I think. And the other guy says, who? He looks back at him and says, I swear. And turns and looks back at you. Lady Alcantara, yeah. He said he wanted to talk to Lady Alcantara. I tried to ask him about what, but he didn't say.
I very much appreciate your assistance.
Sure.
Tell me,
Huh?
this man, did he speak to anyone else? Was he here with anyone else? Are you aware of where he was staying when he wasn't working with you?
Yeah, I understand like the nature of your questions, and I get it. But I'll be completely honest. We talked for maybe 20 or 30 minutes when we passed as we were moving across the field, and that's pretty much the only real attention I gave him, and the only time I really recall seeing him. And the other guy says, well, what about that time when we were in supper hall? And he looks back at him and says, you can't even remember his name, but you can remember the times we talked to him? The guy kind of looks over at you and says, yeah. The guy in there, sure. We talked to him at dinner one time. He was with two others who'd come up from there. Two elves. Well, anyway, I don't remember their names. The other guy says,
Oh, how am I not surprised?
the other guy says, honestly, me neither. And then the other guy goes, oh, you didn't remember their names? You didn't remember their names this time, huh? And then he kind of says, you stop talking. And then looks back at Halo. So, like I was saying, the gentleman was saying, what was he saying? He said that he was here to tell you, no, not you. What was that one? Lady Alcantara. Lady Alcantara, tell her about the true nature of what happened at the Sliver Isle. I don't know what he was talking about, though. Just that he needed to speak to
That person.
Lady Alcantara. Lady Alcantara. Yeah, that's her name.
Well, I very much appreciate your time here. By all means, take an extra break. This is, of course, no way for any individual to spend time relaxing or relieving from the work. No?
Yeah, sure. Sure.
And feel free to find me at dinner time. I'd be happy to sit and speak through more of your emotions with you. I don't know if you've partaken in our ritual here, but I think it might help you.
Oh, yeah. I heard about that. I'm interested. The guy who remembers the name says. The other guy says, I don't know. Sounds kind of weird to me. And you can see that on the They're both wearing holy symbols like around their necks,
Yeah.
just thin chains with like a symbol of like a cross almost. One's the Atavian cross, and the other one is the Avarian cross. So they don't seem to worship the same god. Um,
Mhm.
One is worship an elven worshiper, and he's the one who's on board. The other guy, who's the Atavian worshiper, not so much.
Fair enough. Either way, I'd be happy to help.
They head off. Yeah.
Wait.
They head
I don't
off.
get it.
Head off.
They
Get fucked. Get fucked, son. It's more puns.
I
It's fucking
just
game. They make
took
you
all
wanna
it.
get cuckoo.
Everybody who has
Great.
inspiration, you
God.
don't have it anymore because I'm taking it. It's for me. No, I'm kidding.
Guys, what was John's joke? I don't get it.
What would you like to do after that?
I think I met those two elves before I met Lazo, right?
Yep.
They're the ones who introduced
They're the ones who
me
directed you to
Lazo.
Lasso, yep. They said that they didn't want to talk to Alcantara. They did not want to do anything. They said what they saw to you. And they said, Lazo said he wanted to get more about it because he
And
saw
I
more.
left them alone because they asked to be left alone. But did I see them this morning?
Yeah, I mean, they're still about.
They're still about here. Okay. I'm not gonna approach them because I don't know who here is watching.
And you, as an insightful individual, would know that it's probably not going to be too long that information about Lazo is going to be kept under wraps because you just sent two people who know about it into the temple and you didn't tell them not to talk about it.
No, I told them to keep people from seeing what happened here. That's
Yeah, not talk about
I
it.
haven't. I'm not a secretive person.
Same.
Kind
I
of
love
thing
it.
is going to get its way out into the community, and I just want to be as open and honest with the individuals as
Transparent.
possible. I am not the town leader. I don't need to hold my seat of power. My seat of power has gotten spiritually.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming along on this ride with me to say fuck the establishment.
Man.
Anyway,
You want to put cops in this fucking game? I'll fucking fuck the cops.
Too much. We gotta get to the next bit.
Oh man.
Leave.
Yeah. No, I
Still just.
don't have anything else other than that. If I'm gonna just make sure that I actually am keeping an eye out for Flaxius because I don't know why he's not out.
Yeah, he'd be out there eventually. Do
Okay,
you?
so yeah, make sure I touch base with him and get him kind of running the control with those two trusted.
Are you moving away from there to go and tell somebody about it? That's why you're leaving them there, or I didn't get that part. Sorry.
So I just want them to be like outside of the building and stopping anyone from coming in.
What are
Because-
you doing?
I was gonna go find Flaxius, check in with him, and make sure he
Okay,
and the
once-
rest of I'm gonna go do that.
Once he's leading the show there at the shack, are you going to do something else? I guess is what I'm trying to get to.
Yes, the next thing I wanted to do was go and get Pival, because I assume he's the next most free person to try and contact Alcantara. I
Okay.
want to send him directly to the keep to let
Nope.
Alcantara know directly as soon as possible what.
Okay. I've only ever been up there 2 times before. I'm on my way. And he leaves. And all right. Let's cut to. We've got a bit of Tim. We got a bit of Zach. On a dash of Matt.
Oh,
Let me
I
s-
also,
oh,
after he stops at the keep, I want him on his way back to stop by the guild and see if I can get Quotus or any of the other kids from the guild. Like, if I can get, what are their names? Fucking Kaelin or, what's the other one? Sorry?
Fenfear.
Fenfear, thank you. If I
Okay.
can get one of those two, either. Any of those three coming my way as well. More hands on deck that are more familiar with this are going to help.
with the additional task, you can see that Pival's kind of like, okay, go to the keep, then go to the establishment. Go to the keep, then the establishment. Roll a D100, Zach, and then I guess I'll cut to Matt, like I was gonna.
Right. So generally, I was going to, after I sent Andy's assistant, whose name I can't remember, off to the ship.
Arave.
Ereve. After I sent her off, honestly, I was probably going to just take care of some of the, again, like, I know there's generally, it's the beginning of the week. I have some stupid meeting or paperwork I've got to look at, I know.
You
So
do.
I know what the beginning of the week's like. So
You do,
I was
actually.
figuring,
Um,
yeah, I was figuring I was going to look at some stuff.
Yeah, there are 3 individuals who are higher class citizens, although there isn't really a caste structure. Like, it's not like they are afforded any kind of special entitlements or anything. They just happen to be 3 individuals who have a strong kind of presence when it comes to um, ownership of things. They're pretty important individuals in the marketplace.
Okay, have I taken care of the paperwork I need to, though?
Before you talk to them, yeah,
Yeah.
you would basically be working to that. And I was going to say these individuals aren't keen on talking to you either. They're not looking
Okay,
for
cool.
they're not looking for a dialogue. You know how this typically goes. And what eventually happens is you come in to address them, and they hand your assistant papers, and then they leave. And the papers basically state like what their current desires are within the town when it comes to militia presence. And if those are basically the same as before, they also notate the amount of taxation that they're willing to, well, not really taxation, but willing charity they're willing to give to the town.
Oh, I think I like these guys so much.
So basically, they pay for,
Right.
yeah,
They're basically like town patrons, so to speak.
correct.
Great.
And that transaction goes off pretty unceremoniously, but there are 3 of those individuals. They have kind of like jokingly been called by, and you would be aware of this just because of people telling you, but they've been jokingly be called the 3 kings of Kusarianwi.
Well, I would generally probably want people to not necessarily insult them to their face, even if I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of these people. Propriety calls that we do not insult our guests.
Yeah, you would know that they don't take kindly to the title, the ad hoc title, and you would also know that it insinuates that some people in kind of the mercantile area,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, I figured that part out already.
it's more of a slight against you than that.
Yep.
But yeah, they are very, I mean, very quick with the matters at hand. It's not a sign of disrespect. They've come to know that that's what your preferred method of it is, and the transaction goes by in that regard.
Anything significant this time, or?
No, nothing outside of the normal. It does look like they are increasing their amount granted to you, which is strange. But it's within the margin of it being reasonable. They typically do it percentage based, so they seem to be earning more in this current season.
Either they're earning more or they want a favor later. Either way.
Correct.
I don't trust it.
As you're kind of finishing up with that, Balashe will enter into the chamber along with the apprentice and a small contingent of militiamen and kind of move up to you. The militiamen kind of stop at the door.
Really quickly before we get to that, just one quick question. In terms of like amount earned by the town, like
So that
is Tim's job keeping track of some of that stuff, aka or
no.
okay, that's
So
something else.
that money is effectively built into the earnings of the keep that keep the keep paid for.
Right.
So there is a numerical value in game, but it's not a numerical value that matters to you or I because, or in story rather, because
Oh, yeah.
in game it's just that amount.
No, the thing that I was getting at more was, are they actually doing better? Like, you know, is there some way to basically like without checking their books, figure out like are they actually just doing better, or is this they're trying to put something out
I
there. And
getcha. Yeah, you don't have license to their books, so you don't have much as to
Right.
what they've earned or anything. Um, you can make. You could make a just an intelligence check or a charisma check, your choice, to kind of either think about it, or kind of have had conversations about things like this.
well, seeing as my intelligence is a +2 and my charisma is a +5,
Charisma.
22.
Yeah. So you're pretty sociable. You keep your ear to the ground. You talk to who you need to talk to. You are aware that there does seem to be a slight current increase in activity in the town. Maybe an increase of about 10-15% more than what you'd expect normally.
Gotcha.
A lot of folks are coming from the southern side of the Rended Isles, coming up here. All right.
Cool.
So yeah, your captain and Valesha and the apprentice Ereve would arrive. Cyril, have you been here the whole time? Sorry, too. Or have you left and gone away?
So I probably have left and gone back. He was probably reclining in his tower with like a herb broth and a poultice
Bef-
or something like that.
Before you even get to that, you would actually be addressed by. You sent over who again, Tim?
I was heading to the tower and he wasn't there, and then from there I was heading to the keep.
Okay.
Plus, I
I
happened to be out and about, and Fenfear was back, and I figured I might as well go.
I thought you said you would send somebody else. Okay, so then you would actually arrive before Valesha.
Oh, okay.
And before or after the meeting with the merchants.
Okay. Right. What do you how do you like to be addressed again? Your ladyship?
I'm just going to do the whole raise one eyebrow thing. I actually can't do in real life, but I'm going to say my character can. And just say, you can just call me Lady Alcantara.
Right. Lady Alcontra. I got some, is there, like, people in here, or is it just us?
So right now it's just you.
Well, I'd say probably like
Oh,
the
sorry.
scribe might be there just because I'd want him there to take stuff down if I needed to, but he can be dismissed if need be.
Yeah, so then it would be Eldrin and I would assume Naxi would be there as well.
Yeah, probably. Why not?
So, I got some preliminary feedback about, a recent posting at the guild from a traveling merchant.
Almost if without even a command, you see Naxi kind of speak to Eldrin to the side in whisper and kind of lead him out the door.
Cool. Ah, darn you, Zach. You can raise one eyebrow. So
I love that facial control.
I can't do the other one, I can only do the one.
I can only do the one too.
I try to do the one,
Facial
and the other
control.
one also raises up. It's really annoying.
My sister can do the wave.
I can't do it.
Okay.
Anyway, doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Moving on.
So after they leave, I had heard from, good old Badgel that, he was, on the Drolsea Isles 6 days ago, had gotten back, so I figured I'd go pick his brain. It turns out he seems to have fought a schism. He actually knew the name too. I didn't say anything about it, just mentioned squid-like creatures. He said it was as tall as a man, 6 red eyes, tentacles for legs. And, I pull out the dagger that he'd made out of it. They removed this from its body. And apparently...
Just like hold out my hands to see it.
I handle first, proffer to you.
Yeah.
The one thing you would note is it doesn't seem to be as keen as the young ones. Basically, if you're familiar with cats, you would know that a baby cat's claws are way sharper than an adult cat's. They both hurt, but one is definitely like super, super sharp comparatively. But yeah, it's just a massive woodish kind of sword thing.
And one of his crew has a cloak made out of its skin.
No. Cloak was made out of wyvern skin.
Oh,
Yeah.
my bad. Okay, never mind. I heard that wrong. So, what was I going with that? Also, he was saying that when they, seems like the Nadrasi, when he was there 6 day ago, they're on edge, not as cooperative as they normally are, or can be, at least on a good day. So, didn't quite get into the details of if you saw any siege equipment going around, because I figured timeline didn't quite work out. But, yeah, so, anyway, just offering that to you. I was gonna take the dagger over to Cyril, he wasn't at the tower, so you can inspect it if you wanted, but,
Well,
yeah.
he should hopefully be on his way back now. You possibly may have passed him in the streets without even knowing it.
Doors open. Balasha enters in with the entourage that I mentioned before.
I would quickly hand it back to him and just sort of like motion him to like put it away
Sleight
if
of
he
hand
could.
it.
He's kind of standing in between line of sight for anybody besides, so the action is quick and graceful between the two of you. The weapon is hidden from sight.
Well, if you wanted to see Cyril, he should be at his tower.
Aye, alright. Well, let me know if you need me to do anything in relation to that. So, I'll be off, Lady Acontra.
Valesha steps. She would have stayed back with her group, not moved forward, and she would have held back Arave as well. And then once, oh my God, names are great, aren't they? Once
Gorgeous.
Ulair kind of moves away, these two will kind of advance and leave the guard back at the door. Valisha leads up to you and kind of bows, prefers a bow, as does Arave. Lady, I did as you ordered and gave a very thorough search to the Mastiff vessel. We were able to find nothing up until this young woman arrived. She cast a ritual spell, and we found that there was a secret compartment hidden within the bilges of the ship. It was strange to be sure, and we recovered the item in question. And she pulls out of her pocket a red gemstone, probably about the size of a fist. It looks like it's kind of soft covered, or not soft covered, but it's not like cut. It looks like it's kind of like a soft stone. The best kind of descriptor I can give you is kind of like a just not nice to look at block of quartz, or not block, or like just stone of quartz. Seems to have kind of a glow to it, to your arcane trained eyes.
Was there anything discernible about this object that you could see?
I cast Identify on it, and it appears to be a designated location for a specific spell known as scrying.
Indeed. Is it so? It is used so that one can scry. Then I assume.
Yes, and it seems to amplify the spell itself. Yes. And she says to Felicia, put it back in the bag. And she puts it back in the bag.
Good. Take this to Cyril. I am so great with names. I will swear one of these days. Valencia, you just said it and I couldn't even remember it. I'm so good. Valencia.
Arave kind of raises her hand like a student in class. Actually, I'm sorry, I had more to say.
Continue then.
I apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt. But, Valencia, I told her not to remove the item from the bag, but she said she'd have to show it to you. but she may have. Well, if someone was looking at that exact moment when it was out of the bag, they might have seen everything in this castle.
Well, Valesha, why did you not listen to this learned young lady then?
And she kind of looks at her and then looks at you. I figured you'd want to see the item, milady. I apologize. She hands the bag over to Arabe. Arabe says, I didn't explain it as well as I just did. I should have put more threat to it because it was something dangerous. I didn't think about it as much. Don't blame her. It's my fault. I will take this to Cyril and we'll keep it in the bag until he decides what to do with it.
Yes, and Valesha, you will personally escort her, along with a few other of your guards, and once you are complete with that, you will come back and you will see me.
Yes, milady.
Uh-oh.
Yes, milady. She turns and they walk out. Who else was coming to the keep?
Thank you for the uh-oh, Andy.
Who else was coming to the keep?
I sent Pieball there.
That's right. Very shortly after, you see Nancy come back in. My lady, the apprentice glassblower from the temple, student of the. Oh, sorry, hold on. Student of Ascendier Nodelve, wishes to speak with you for just a moment. Is delivering a message from the leader of the temple.
Let him in.
She heads back out. She comes back in, gestures a small gnome, small for a gnome even, with.
Good, so I can take him out if he tries to kill me then. Gotcha.
He's got dark gray skin, kind of reddish colored pupils in his eyes. He's wearing just a common white shirt and pair of slacks. Walks in and says,
Please, speak your mind.
Right. I came here to talk to you about. And he kind of looks at the stone ground. You're the lady of the town. You're not
Yes.
the leader of the guild. That's next. Okay, right. So,
Message.
Halo said. What did Halo say?
Oh my gosh, I'm going to
Man,
stab this gnome
I
through
put
the eye.
future of our fucking civilization's hands into.
Halo said that I needed to tell you that Halo
That's every day.
needed to speak with you. And he smiles. And
Is Halo coming here, or does he expect me to go there?
oh. Um
I shall assume that he wishes me to go down there as he has not come up himself.
I think that's why he sent me. That makes a lot of sense. I think it has something to do with the guild too.
I would like to say, my character is literally doing this, like, right now.
I think it has something to do with the guild. What was his name? Quothus. Yeah. I'm supposed to go and tell him.
Quothus is at Cyril's tower. Do you know how to get there?
No.
He nods his head, but it looks like he's not sure.
It's
Come
hard
with
to get
me.
good help.
I'm going to literally just take him with me and go to Cyril's tower with him.
Oh, but I've got to go to the
He
guild
is
hall.
at Cyril's tower.
That makes
He
sense.
is not at the guild hall. Come with me.
Okay. And he follows, and he seems to just be confused by it all.
My my
Awesome
gosh.
NPC.
Zach, who is this guy?
He's
It's
hella
like
Don't
a
worry
3
about it.
intelligence.
he's hella
Dude
gonna.
makes beautiful glass sculptures.
So real talk. The only people who I know work in class, man, don't exactly have the greatest like attention span. Because, hell yeah, class work. You know what I mean? Anyways, I'm done.
You.
You guys go to the tower. And then what?
I'm going there apparently shortly after the.
Right, so Tim first. Tim, you go to the tower.
Tim first, yeah.
Yeah, Tim first.
Chronological.
So I guess as I approach wherever I was told Cyril's at, I just kind of like either knock on the door frame if it doesn't have a door, like if it's an archway, or if there's a door, I knock at it.
Sure, and you'd be greeted by, with sort of an older, sort of Russian-looking man, right?
Alberic.
Alberic, yeah.
He goes, yes, you are here to see Cyril, yes?
Boy,
Okay, he is,
I have some business that he should probably be informed of.
as long as it's not too pressing and stimulating. He's currently resting. He got stabbed pretty viciously last night. Go ahead.
Really?
Go ahead. And he gestures into the room, and you can see that Cyril's kind of laying in bed with like a big old amount of just, gauze on his arm. And it looks like it's a little dry, like a little bit of blood is kind of see through, and it's like dried out. And you can see Albrecht sees that and kind of walks over and sits next to him and starts undressing the wound as you are sitting there talking to Cyril.
So Cyril, it has to do with this notice I got from a passing merchant about some squid-like creatures that I needed to I wanted to pick your brain about. If that changes at all the nature of our conversation.
No, I need to hear this.
I look over to your guy.
Oh, and I understand what you mean. Sure. And I would say, Alberic, you're excused.
Oh, he says he's about halfway through the dressing.
You can come back in a little bit to finish, please.
Okay.
You can just let him finish now. I can wait.
No, it's fine. He looks at you, then looks at you. I'll be back in about 10 minutes. I'll bring up some hot water.
Thank you kindly.
He leaves.
So, not to bring up the trauma of last night, but I pull out the I pull out the dagger, like kind of to get a rise out of him, but like I don't pull it in a threatening way, but like dagger.
I sent him away so I could kill you quickly.
What is that thing?
At least he's not in the shower right now, right, guys?
Yeah. It is a more you would recognize it as a more massive version of the talon that the schism had.
So would Cyril know that these creatures can get that big?
Not really.
So I would. So he would be like horrified. That is. Did you say 6 feet?
About as tall as
That is really disturbing. What more did you learn?
well, that it was over in the Drelsey Isles, and it was as tall as a man. And when they killed it, they made this. Also, they knew the name of. They knew it by its name.
Door suddenly busts open, and in walks the apprentice. She just kind of walks in, shuts the door behind her, and looks at you, then looks over at Cyril.
Cyril. So Arave, you mean?
Yeah, she just kind of walks in like she owns the place.
Well, she's my apprentice. Says, Arave, I want to speak to you of your mission shortly. I'm going to ask that you wait outside for a few
it's
more moments.
fine. I understand. I've already read your notes about what you're talking about. You don't really have a good way of keeping any secrets. Looks to you, and then looks at your bag. What's in the bag? Is it another one?
Oh my goodness.
She says that
Wow.
she
All right.
she throws the bag on the
She's
table.
she's
She throws the bag on the table, like near your bed, and she says, "We found that on the ship. Um, it's a scrying beacon, my lord. It and the guard captain pulled it out inside of the lady's castle.
yeah, that was not wise.
Well, I told her not to, but I didn't know how to be forceful in that regard to tell
I
her not."
understand, I sent you out at your disadvantage because it was something that I was not up to doing myself. I think you did just fine.
It's fine. Well, we shouldn't take it out here unless we're taking it out upstairs in the circle. If we're going to do any more inspection on it, if you think it's possible, there's a very strong tether to it. It seems like we might be able to trace it back. Um,
Why don't you bring it upstairs? Of course, don't uncover it, and I shall be up shortly.
okay. And she looks at you and she, Laren kind of smiles.
Speak of this to no one.
You got some quite competent helpers.
She is precocious, but she is whip smart. Have no fear.
Anyway, this came from an adult schism.
So I just wanted to talk with Ulair for a few more moments. There was only one of them there?
They said they just ran into one on their way to fight some wyverns.
Okay. And then John, go ahead.
I would also let you know that it was either he didn't say which, but Asher Sunwalker, the hunter, one of his companions. It was either Arcturus or Ingrid, who knew the name.
Make an intelligence check. There, Cyril.
Alrighty. What I can do. So just straight intelligence?
Yeah, you're remembering something that has nothing to do with history. I think it's just your personal kind of
Sure,
recollection.
11.
Okay.
It's really bad.
You don't know why, but the
Have
name
inspiration. Oh, you don't have inspiration, do you? Damn.
you do.
Someone didn't give it to
Tim.
me.
You do, Tim. You have inspiration. Do you want to spend it? Last call.
Ghost.
Last call. Last call. Last call.
Wait, I'll spend it for him.
Okay. Kevin spends it.
Thanks, Kevin.
It came
Thanks,
from
Kevin.
Tim.
What'd you get?
Right, Kevin.
What'd you get?
Oh, my roll's so sorry. Yeah, 21.
Okay. Imgrund sounds so familiar, and you're inspired just by a song you remember hearing. It just kind of just snaps it back in your mind. It takes you back to a time when you heard that song. In school, when you were studying to be a mage, you were studying underneath your parents, but the mages don't study under a specific individual. They're typically sent to an academy or a school, and you've spent some time in Elanche Enclave's capital, Graculia, studying in such an academy. And you remember that there was another student named Imgrund, and she was really smart and very, very, very beautiful. Just literally a peer of excellence, like in mage tutelage. But from what you heard when you were segmenting away, she had left maybe a month or so before you had left the academy, and it sounded like she was giving up her study of the arcane arts.
But he doesn't know why.
You don't know why. Again, the last time you saw her was probably in such a class, and then she disappeared. And when you kind of heard as to why she did, it's because she was giving up the lessons. She was no longer taking to magic.
Okay. So I'm gonna file that away and think about that later. And then Cyril would say to Ilaire, you must be careful. If there's more than one of these creatures together, when they're near each other, they impart their own mutations and power to the others. And then separately from that,
great.
John, I know you mentioned that for the smaller creature that we killed, when examining it, like it was halfway through the process of creating a secondary form of splitting in two,
Mm-hmm.
right? Would I know if that happens during any particular time of its development?
No, you're not sure. Again, this is the first one you've handled, and based on all the notes you have from predecessors, they didn't seem to note how they reproduced. There was no information about how they reproduced; they just existed. According
Okay,
to
I guess I'm worried that. Go ahead.
sorry, according to your grandfather's notes, the presumption is the number that R has existed since the beginning of the breed.
Okay.
So no, according to what they stated, no new ones had ever come about.
Okay. So there's something strange happening with. Okay. So anyway, Cyril would say that to Ulair. Just be careful if you see more than one together.
I'll make sure Kalen lets those that are looking at that bounty, they're prepared, just in case. Or I guess I should, should I run that by the lady? I don't know, she wants secrecy, but in this line of work you kind of need information to live.
I think running it by Lady Alcantara is a good idea.
You are making your way up the stairs, Lady Alcantara, with the Pieball in tow. You come to the door. The door is closed. You see an individual standing outside of it, wearing kind of like a blue jacket, red hair, arms crossed, looking at you. Lady, you wish to see him? He is talking to Ulair.
Perfect.
He opens the door for you. The door opens inside. You two kind of look up as
I'm
you're.
I'm going to really quickly turn around to the gnome and just tell him, wait here with him.
They both nod.
Can we have Alcantara walk in as it's like, talk to the lady? Fuck.
That's actually what I was imagining I was walking.
Yeah, but as he's saying that, you can see probably Cyril kind of reaching up, trying to grab a hold of the blade on the table and kind of move it to be hidden, and then realizing it's you, kind of not caring about it.
I prefer you not consider me in such low standards.
I just don't like talking to people in authority. You make me uneasy. That's all. Nothing against you personal.
Cyril and Quothus, I believe that we might be needed down with Halo.
Boy, what's going on?
I don't know, but that small gnome person out there came to get me and to get you, Quothus. And I figure we might as well bring Cyril along in case it is something equally as disturbingly magical as, I suppose, both what your assistant and what our good sir here has brought you, Cyril.
Excellent. So the gnome is not with you right now, right? It's just.
I told him to wait outside.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then Cyril would mention really quickly that Arave is at the top of the tower with the stone and thinks that we might be able to trace the source of the tether.
That would be useful. I was going to ask you if that was possible, but you've answered before I even got a chance to. So,
I assume she said that while looking over at Aquothas. Like, good. Good.
no. I'm not doing a direct look over.
Oh.
I do one of those out of the side eyes sort of things at him. You know,
Wow.
like this isn't how you deal with someone.
Okay. If you all then pop in or go outside and meet up with Pieball. He says when he sees you, he says, "Oh, I've got to go to the. We've got to go to the guild, and then I've got to tell you something about. Wait a minute. Do we have to go?
If you think we need to, we can. But if you need me to go somewhere, we could just go directly there instead of the guild first. I'm sure Halo would understand.
You know, I think if we get Halo here, or to the guild, let's just go see Halo. And looks over at Lady Alcantara.
Brilliant idea.
Nods his head. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. And then he kind of like he's in charge, just turns around and starts leading the way.
Quick cut to Leaf. What's he doing?
No, so actually, good timing. Literally, what I was going to say is, you would see an entourage of individuals, because I'm assuming Cyril's going with you as well.
Yeah.
You see a pretty fancy entourage of individuals. Also, you probably recover your captain, because she came with the apprentice.
Yeah, the captain. I'm telling her to go back to the
Oh.
keep and wait for me.
Do you want to take her militia?
Sure.
Alright.
She's getting a talking to at some point though. Actually, no. I'll keep her with me for right now. I can.
You see a pretty noble-looking retinue walking past your house, Leaf.
Excellent.
/in.
I would probably just be finishing up my, I'd probably get together with some, fledgling artists and kind of practice new songs and that sort of thing, just kind of...
Jam sesh?
New things. Yeah, a little jam session, have a little herb or something.
Yeah.
So then I'd see them all walking, I'd be like, we'd be, closing our session up, and I'd be like, wonderful session today. I think I need to be going. I see some of my friends walking by. And then I would say goodbye all and, bow and all that stuff. And then kind of shush everybody out of my apartment quickly, and then kind of see them and kind of run over. And actually, I wouldn't run over, though. I don't want to look desperate.
Kind of like a light jog over.
Yeah, kind of like our prance over, and then kind of play some music.
Prance.
Very,
Prance.
And, kind of over the top, and just be like, oh, wonderful day, my friends. Where are you going?
We're going to take care of business. What are you doing?
Oh, business. Oh, that word. Oh, it's such a
Tell me
shame.
about it.
Would you like me to come along and play some fine tunes for you? I just came up with a new one the other day. No words, but wonderful, inspired tune. And I start playing the schism tune. See if anybody picks up on the whole, the subtleness, and yet how it reaches into your heart and kind of brings up those emotions.
Make a performance check, and then
Especially
Matt, you were
what
interjecting.
it does to,
Well, yeah.
Cyril, how does Cyril, maybe he might feel all these things going up his spine and stuff, All right, I'll see where I can get here. Too bad I gave away that inspiration. I might need it now.
So,
This is important.
Keep your priorities straight, man.
All right, let's see. Yes! 25 for the people at home.
So-
I'm killing this.
Certain music kind of brings out specific emotions in people and kind of reminds you of certain times. And it seems like Leaf is a master at this. And the music that he plays specifically for those who were present seems to recall, the same beat and pace as the evening with the schism. It's uncanny. And it makes the emotions kind of tingle in you.
I was going to say, I messaged Cyril and just sort of ask him, do you think he's simply an imbecile, or do you think he's a...
I missed that very last word.
Spy.
Spy.
spy?
He said, do you think he's awesome? Or do you think he's a spy? So,
Yes, that is the word that I
that's
used.
exactly what he
Awesome.
said. I read his
It
lips.
wasn't at all imbecile.
No, he would never say that.
Yeah, because those aren't the only two options. Just awesome is also on the docket.
Good option.
Time will tell.
Time will tell.
Okay, I'm going to message Cyril again. Do you think we should bring him? Because I don't trust him.
Well, you know what they say about enemies close. I don't know the rules for message, so is it one? What's the response? Have to be,
Basically, I send something to you, you can send something back to me.
for how many words?
I think it's just a sentence or so.
Oh, okay.
It's not much. I'm pretty
How
sure
about
it's just a
let's keep an eye on him then. So, in other words, yes.
Fine, you can come. Just try not to get in the way.
Yeah, I would say, thank you, Lady Alcantara. You will not be disappointed.
Leaf, Do me a favor and go ahead and make an Arcana check for me real quick.
Arcana check. I'm going to do it. Let's see if my streak is good. 22.
So you're getting the beats there, and you can see that for some reason because are you casting through an arcane focus or are you casting with a material component for message?
So message is just I point, or a
Incorrect.
short piece of copper wire. That's right. I forgot about that. So as a bard, my thing would be a musical instrument, and as I currently do not believe I'm carrying any on me, I imagine I would just carry around a copper wire
Right.
for such an occasion.
Well,
Yeah.
you're definitely performing a small whisper and then also
I would
hand
like to say,
gestures as well.
Really quickly though, I am probably like have the copper wire sewn into my clothes to try to
No,
make
granted,
it less obvious.
There's definitely verbal and somatic components along with the actual
yeah.
wire. But the main thing is Leaf, you would recognize that the Lady Alcantara appears to be casting the spell message, from what you can tell. And you do notice that there's some sort of mouth movement coming from Cyril as well. So you are pretty sure that there's a conversation happening between the two. You don't know if it's because they're talking about you because you just randomly showed up, or if they're just having a conversation during your music so they can hear each other. You're not sure what's going on there, but you are aware of the fact that that's happening.
Right. Then I would look at Cyril and be like, too soon? And Sonic, too soon? Does that bring up
Quothus
the
laughs. You should have seen what I showed him earlier.
Halo, where would you be in relation to the head?
Oh. It's like, what metaphorically is the head of the temple district?
No, the
there's
head
a
in the check.
in the
There's a
temple
head.
district.
There's literally a head in the temple
What?
district right now.
So I know that I sent Pieball out. I've got Flaxius kind of running point there. I'd probably be waiting for Alcantara to show up.
At the temple proper. Okay. Well, then you all have probably been to the temple once before, and you arrive. The militia kind of stay outside and kind of hold post as Alcantara enters in to the main proper place. You can see that most of the folks who are in and around the area kind of slowly move out and away, like giving you a wide berth as you kind of enter in, and definitely far enough away from the group to be able to hear anything. They're well out of earshot when you get into the temple to see Halo.
Right. So, Halo. What
So
is
it's
it?
the 5 of you and Pieball that show up here.
Correct.
Yeah.
Pieball says,
Everyone else is staying outside of the temple district.
I
correct?
didn't make it to the guild, but I found Quothus, and I went to
Yeah,
the
it seems
tower.
like you found most of the town, my friend.
Well, I wanted to go to the guild. I then didn't, because she had said that he was at the tower. So
I know. I've asked a lot of you today, and I'm so proud of you, and I'd love it if you could get back to the workshop and continue your work.
I would too. He says as he walks
My
away.
God, and I like gesture to him to like run back on, like, good job, buddy, you did it.
He does.
It's not what I asked, but you didn't fuck it up as much as you coulda.
You actually did it pretty good.
Fine. I didn't want the whole town here outside of the temple district with all the fucking guard, but whatever.
Well, it's not.
man.
It's like it's not a massive
God.
retinue, but yeah.
You got the one thing I asked him to do done, and I'm proud of him for that.
After he leaves, like, Quothus attacks on, like, I'm pretty proud of the little fella. You did great.
He's come a long way, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's come a long way.
I've seen him when he first showed up to the temple. Quite a pathetic child.
I don't even want to know, do I?
You're not gonna want to know about this part either.
Nice segue. Can he get inspiration for that?
He already has it.
Please.
He already has it. Who do you want to give inspiration to? Who do you want to give inspiration to? Who gets it? Who gets it, Zach? Who gets it?
It's just such a great segue.
I don't know, man.
Give it to Kevin.
Kevin's unselfish with his inspiration.
Yeah,
He is
Kevin's a
unselfish.
team player.
There you go, Kev.
Two times tonight.
Alright, thanks, man. I'll take it. I'll just get ready to dish it out.
Yeah. So now that I've got you all gathered here, and I kind of like gesture them a little bit closer. My lady, I'm sure you remember that gentleman I wanted so desperately to introduce to you at dinner yesterday.
Yes, Lazo, you mentioned him.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So inside of that building where those two lovely couple are posted outside is his severed head that's been taxidermied into a god-awful expression.
Quoth's jaws
See,
just kind of
the
like
halo
dropping,
kind of
like
Flares like a real fiery, like inside I am furious. There's a bright fiery, like burning color to that halo inside of it, but like out on the outside, trying to keep calm and smile on through. Just keep swimming.
Do we have any idea how his head had inside of this shack of yours?
Not yet. We're working on it though. First step was to, of course, let you know.
Thank you.
Yep.
Cyril, do you know, is there anything you can do to anything right now? Figure out anything about this? I've heard that some people can speak with dead people or anything. Do you know anything about that?
That is currently beyond me. I mean, I could detect magic to see if there's any kind of magical.
Yes, well, you've had a rough day
cause.
yesterday. If need be, I can always cast that.
Would you care to join me? I think it leaves quite the impression in person. And he flies off into the fucking building.
Real quick, Andy, do me a favor and make a medicine check.
Okey doke.
Oh, this is so much fun, guys.
19.
At some point during the walk, you were able to kind of put back the wrappings that were being taken off before you had left, and kind of get it back to a state of workability. They are still a little bit stained, though, with your own blood, although it does look like there's a nice patch of scabbiness over the wound at this point. So, yeah.
I'm gonna minor illusion that just to make it disappear.
Okay. There's like a sick pauldron. Or like a dragon.
Sure.
Okay.
Put an awesome tattoo there.
It's a heart with an arrow through it.
Cyril, I have heard your mind is as sharp as a great investigator. Maybe you would be one to go look at this and figure it out.
Actually, I was wondering, Master Crothis, do you have any way to possibly track who may have been through there? Or where they may have gone?
probably, but you have to go there. Depends on how many people have been walking around. So, I mean, you know how preserved the scene is, but I can do what I can do. That's all I can do. Can't make promises, but I can try.
Well, our friend Elo, he flies around, so does not disturb us.
Yes, but Halo is not the only one around here.
Look at
I
the
think
right.
that's the issue.
He says it's well preserved.
I'm assuming this conversation happens as you're making your way over to the shack.
Yeah.
The the groundskeeper is there, sees Halo approaching, and says, "These farmers, they're really tired. Can I have them go in for sleep?"
Of course, if you have others that could come and help, by all means, I'm leaving this operation to you.
I'll keep an eye on it myself. I've told everyone that if they're going to take the breaks to do it in the temple proper, not here at the shack. And
Yeah, can you also tell them to not let this get out quite just yet?
yeah, that's not really a thing that I can do. People have come over and asked why, and I told them that there's a head in there. So I think everybody in the temple knows about it there, milady. Sorry about that.
I'm sure you understand how we do things here, my lady. Now, if we could, and he flies into the, holds open the drape of whatever fucking doorway we're entering.
Flaxius goes and tells the other farmers to leave, and is the only one outside now. You enter into the shack, and it looks like a break room, effectively, inside of a small house. A house that's effectively been turned into like a break room. And out on the table is a head. Looks like it's been very neatly exsanguinated, and then taxidermied. Looks like there's a bit of kind of like a clear resin about the flesh. It looks like it's been locked in kind of a death howl. The eyes look like they are perfectly replaced with glass eyes. And Halo, you met Lazo, so the eyes look like they are uncannily similar to the eyes he had in life.
Would anyone here know who would be able to do this kind of work?
Make a history check if you have history trained.
While he does that, I'm going to basically just... I would, if Tim's willing to look around, and then I was going to just start ritual casting detect magic so that we can see if there is anything
I rolled an 18, John.
here.
Okay.
So before I do anything, I'd probably say, well, it's pretty clear that I'm pretty sure the head was moved here, already separated from the body. So it's going to make things a bit more difficult. But I'll see what I can turn up. And I seek to do an investigation of the area.
Okay, 1 second on that. With your 18, you glean the following information. The dwarfs of the Ballenroth people, after defeating a individual in combat mortal, will do one of three things. They'll either spare the individual, give them the grace of death in soil, and leave them to die where they fell. Or, if the defeat was something that is a bit more personal, they will perform the rite of Erodnu. Erodnu, spelled this way.
Can you spell that? Yeah. This is
Erodnu
bad, guys. This is bad.
is when you defeat the individual and you decapitate them. You then perform very specific cutting to remove tissue out of the skin, and then basically create the skin's surface to be solidified on the flesh as it sits there. Then remove the flesh out, basically creating a death mask with the face solidified, which is then placed over the skull and some hay, and it is then bolted via the spine to a piece of wood and hung or placed on a mantle.
Can I ask a question about that?
Shoot.
So, when you say it's personal, would Cyril understand that it's personal to that particular creature that's been killed, or could it be personal in terms of sending a message, say, to Alcantara or
It's
others?
more often, in your understanding, an Inigo Montoya kind of situation. Do you get my meaning?
You killed my father, prepare to die.
Yeah. or you did wrong by me in this way, and your recompense is now you get to sit on my shelf.
Okay, okay. So it's about that particular individual creature.
Correct.
And again, there's no one here outside of our regular group of people. That right? Is that right?
Just outside of the shack is Flaxius, but he's not within earshot. Even though he's
Okay.
got big, massive purple ears, you're pretty sure he
Right.
can't hear.
Okay, Matt, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so then Cyril would just remind everyone that would tell everyone this information and remind them that Ballinroth is the place where we think these schism creatures come from, and wonders if there's a connection.
Who knows?
I do not think this is a coincidence.
Was the association to information about the Slivered Isles mentioned yet in front of Yulair?
Sliver Isle, and I don't think so.
Sliver Isle.
No.
All
It's only been discussed between myself and Alcantara.
Real
She
qu-
has not shared it with anyone other. I don't know if you shared it with Cyril.
Not yet.
Real quick, do both of the bards have Jack of all trades?
Yep.
Yeah.
Can you both make a history check for me?
I'm trained in history, but I didn't do it before because you didn't.
I am.
Yeah, I
actually
said if you're trained in
also
history. Yeah,
trained in
give me a history check, you two. Bardic knowledge key.
Yes.
Nice.
Hot.
You're
Nice.
killing it with the rolls, Kevin.
I keep rolling 19s.
I was about to say, I'll
Ooh,
give us a crit.
One up to
Woo
me.
woo.
You're both in the same range, though, so you both will recognize the information. And it kind of comes as Cyril kind of talks on for a moment, recanting what he knows about the Orodnu and the act. You seem to recall that the practice in question was actually stopped some 50 years ago. Mainly because the rite of Aradnu, the right to perform it, would often be taken up during arena combat, which wouldn't normally lead to the termination of the individual. However, because there was something personal happening there, dwarven nobility was using the arena combats as a basically a means to get in and kill someone because of the declaration that Aradnu was necessary. So they haven't been practicing this specific tradition, to your knowledge, based on what you've learned through court and discussions, or just traveling and being a sick ass bard. You know that they don't do it that much anymore. However, you are aware that there are groups of bandits who are dwarves, segmented away from Ballinroth, who still perform the rite.
Interesting.
Would you explain that out loud, El Contra?
She probably just kind of takes it in.
Because
You
probably
also
would
do
if you-
that too. Yeah. If
Yeah. I
you
would
go
prob-
ahead, I probably wouldn't just
I
cause.
probably would, unless you like. I'd look over at you when I started to say it to see if you like objected to it. If you didn't, I would just keep telling everybody. Just our little group of people here what you just said.
I'm
Because
not
that's
going to
a
stop
key
you.
part. That's like a key part to this, that people understand that.
So if it's said.
It
So
is.
this may not be from the dwarven kingdom. It could be a bandit for working for somebody else.
Part of this that got shifted up north to the Isles from the flooding. It's the only thing I can think. They're the bandits that have been around us. Don't know where they exactly are now.
Well, I did explain to the lady why he wished to speak with her. Did she not share that with anyone? And I looked to her.
I did not for the time being. I told Cyril, but I didn't feel it as necessary for everyone to know as.
Well then, I'll go look for something. Exit stage left.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm not hindering you from telling people if you want to tell people.
I actually think it best if we say something tonight at dinner here in the temple. Uh, most people will have already heard about it by then, and if it's not addressed, it will only become worse amongst the community. I think it actually, if you don't mind, my lady, it might be best if you stayed again for this evening's festivities. Just for the people's sake here, for their peace of mind.
Covering
So-
things up lets a wound fester.
Just out of curiosity, Zach, are you just so that I know exactly what you're saying, which details exactly are you saying? Just thing in terms of this guy being from the I've got my
There was
notebooks
a
up.
member of their community who was murdered, and people are
Yeah.
now going to feel their own public safety has been threatened.
Right.
And if the leaders of that community doesn't address that threat and that fear, then that fear will fester amongst the community into a much more difficult problem for those in power to maintain. So if we don't
Yeah.
address it now in a manner that's beneficial for the entire community in a way that eulogizes the horrific tragedy that occurred and addresses ways that we might be able to mitigate such a tragedy in the future now before we let them riot in the streets for 6 to 7 days. And
Well-
then,
Right. So you're
know,
basically
like,
just saying the
I'm
whole
gonna,
part with
as a
Lazo
preacher
dying.
and as a
Yeah.
person who, as a preacher, I'm gonna eulogize a member of the community who died here. If you, as the town leader, want to be here for that eulogy tonight at dinner, I'm saying it'll look better for you because you're kind of aloof and kind of known as the pale lady. I'm saying, right now, as the community, this is already out here. All of the people here in the temple know that there is a severed head inside of this building, and if we don't, memorialize this individual and take a moment as a community to commemorate this tragedy, I'm gonna do that as the spiritual leader of this town. If you want to sit through the dinner, just sit next to me and do what politicians do and soak up those brownie points. I'm giving you that opportunity.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. I just wanted to I was just trying to figure out necessarily what exactly you were going to
That's
be
what I'm
saying
going
because,
for.
yeah, I
I'm
was
gonna
like,
eulogize him, and if
Yeah.
you don't want to say something, you don't have to say something. If you don't want to be there, you don't have to be there. But as the town's leader, you can say something tonight at dinner if you'd like to say something tonight at dinner. Or you can let me run things and you can sit next to me and I can give a good eulogy and but something tonight is going to be said whether you're there or not. That's
yeah,
what
no,
I'm saying.
that's fine. Just to explain my reasoning, the more reasoning why I didn't want to get out right away was because it's a severed head in a shack.
Mhm.
If there is a chance of finding someone, I didn't want it necessarily to be general knowledge. They find out, they're probably going to bolt. It's cat's already out of the bag,
Right.
so to speak. So that part I'm perfectly fine talking about, and I'm willing to address some stuff myself also.
Trying to master
I
the
just-
segues here, I'm going to go ahead and say, yeah, cat's out of the bag. Now to see where it walked in the litter box. That was a shitty segue. Tim, roll
Wow.
me.
That
roll.
was like
Um,
4 puns in a row.
I'd like to say on multiple levels it was a shit day, yeah.
So Tim, would you kindly roll me a investigation or survival check, your choice?
Well, since
And-
I'm trained in one.
Real quick, so you know, the result of what you roll is determined on what you roll. The choice matters.
Well,
Right,
seeing
yeah.
as he's trained
it's,
in one.
it's like how I'm going about
Correct.
doing it. Right. One might be easier than the other, but one's a +1 and the other's a +5.
It's not so much easier than the other. They have the same DC.
Okay.
It's just that you yield different results depending on which one you choose. In that
and
regard.
different information.
Yeah.
Like survival, give me footprints and be able to track those.
Something like that. Sure.
15 on investigation.
Man, this place is a hodgepodge of footprints and stuff. It's just a hot mess. There's nothing really here. There's a bunch of small little like cubbies and lockers that have stuff in them, and none of it seems to matter to this. I mean, you're looking around this shack, and there's really not much to it. And it seems like anyone could have walked up here in the middle of the day or before they went to come and because it was right around noonish. They could have came in and dropped it off at any point. So they pretty much had all morning to do it.
Yeah, what I kind of figured going into this. Yeah, from what it looks like, not much we can find here. It's been too much time. It's not the site of the scene, so kind of a dead end there.
Hey yo.
Yeah, and as I said, I did want to, like, ritual cast detect magic just
Nothing.
to see if there's. Okay, didn't think so, but can't hurt.
All right. I'm assuming you're going from that point and moving on to dinner, or basically gathering up the people at the temple and eulogizing.
If no one else has anything else they want to do, I would tell Quothus about the 2 humans and the 2 elves that were on the scene before I showed up, just in case you want to do your interrogation, investigation, eyewitness account follow-up with them before dinner. So you know about those witnesses. That's the only thing, if you want to play that out first.
To give him practice, I might have figured just like touch base with them, kind of like, help check in on them and have them.
Yeah, that's fine. Just have the NPC do it. Okay.
Because also I'd probably want to head back to let them know of what happened, and hey, there's this eulogy. Someone from the community, because I mean we grew up here. Let's all go. But hey, also on the back end, can you touch base with these people?
Is Andy raising his hand?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought you had a question.
No, I mean,
Thank
it
you.
would be appropriate if the teacher was raising his hand.
Fair enough. I was just curious. Okay, so Quothus is going back to the guild to grab the NPCs to help with the conversations. Add a character note. That's going to be a dead end. The 2 humans and the elves that were there don't really have any information regarding anything moving on beyond what they've already stated. But that is explored. That's fine. Cyril, are you staying here at the temple, or are you returning back to rest?
I would ask Alcantara if she needs my assistance.
If you wish to stay for the evening's dinner, fine. If not, I have nothing else for you.
So my question, John, to you is, if I stay, am I going to still get the benefit of the vitality?
You've been walking around a little bit, so that's taking up a little bit of your time. I would say if you stay out and about, it's probably not going to do well for you. You definitely want to finish out the rest of the evening in bed with assistance from...
That's what I will do.
Yeah, the wound... as you kind of shift the illusion away and look at it, it looks like during the time you've been walking around and talking, it's now just like a nice bright red spot in the center of the bandage.
Yeah, I would go back.
Right.
One thing I would have actually wanted to offer for Cyril, if he was interested, is if he wanted the dagger to study it, to compare the structure between...
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Alright. Well,
You do a quick bag shift. Nobody's looking, and you shift it over to his bag.
Yeah. And if you get the chance, the cost of acquisition was around 6 gold, so just throwing it out there. What you may. Much appreciated.
You fuck.
Cyril would say noted.
Magnate.
Walk away.
That's how
I'd
you
like to
establish
say-
the run.
I gave you 9 gold for the bounty, so you've technically already been.
No, 3 gold was paid out under the bounty, and then 6 of my personal gold was paid out to pay for his thing and treat him, and buy this off of him. I still
Hey,
have
you
6
know-
gold from the bounty for more information if it comes
Don't
out.
fault the capitalist for trying to make a profit. He's just doing what he does.
Yeah, he is the magnate. He runs the
Yeah,
establishment.
no, it's fine. I was just saying, if you want to use the 6 gold that was left over, I was fine with that.
Fair.
But okay.
Cyril heads back home. Quothus heads back to the guild. Leaf, Halo, and
There's a copper.
Yes, I would. Leaf is gonna look at Halo and be like, my friend, how about I stay and play some appropriate music for the everyone attending the ceremony.
If you have a song you feel is appropriate, my friend, your time and performances are always appreciated at our dinners. Of course, as always, I just ask you keep it short.
Oh, of course, of course. Merci.
And you know these people as well. Feel free to help them through this experience if you don't mind.
Oh, yes, yes. I can play music that will, help them release their sorrows and help
We
them
get through
heal.
these experiences together,
Yes,
and through that I thank you.
the
yes, my friend.
so the matter of the eulogy and also any political speech thereafter and any songs thereafter. Do you want to role play that bit? Do you want me to just have you roll dice to finalize out that bit? I'm just asking because I want to know how you want to proceed through that.
I am ready to roleplay it, but I don't necessarily want to make everyone sit through me roleplaying it. Does that answer your question?
I'm in the same boat as Zach. I am ready to roleplay it, but if people don't want to sit through it, that's fine too.
It sounds like
Same with me.
then we're role playing it. So
Then we'll-
I don't plan on talking much, but I'll listen in.
Do you want to see
Cyril's at home in bed. Yeah, but I'd let. Well, yeah, I can say something first, and then you can follow, or either way, I don't care.
do this?
So
right.
when you come into the dining hall, you definitely hear there are a lot of whispers. And the second that Lady Alcantara enters the room, a lot of those whispers start shushing up. And a lot of people are kind of looking at her presence here, like, "Whoa, whoa, this is real. This is serious." You kind of get that
Well,
feeling,
she was just here last night. Don't forget too. Like,
right?
I mean,
Right, but like,
so yeah, I guess
yeah, you also have,
her attitude is a little more reinforced.
yeah, also, yeah. I mean, like, there, it seems like it's a different circumstancing, and they definitely seem to quiet up a bit. It was yours.
Right. So. 1 second, really quickly. Why is that opening up? Sorry. Random program just opened up in my background. Anyway, moving on from random programs. I'm trying to remember the name of the town. It's Kasera Yanwe.
Kasari Yanwi.
Kasara Yanwe.
Should have just
Right.
named it Kevin Town. It would have been easier to remember.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Or Kurt Gosler's Heroes.
Yeah.
No. Citizens of Kasera Yanwe, today we have had a terrible incident happen. Unfortunately, the remains of someone who came to our village seeking refuge were found earlier today. It is a terrible tragedy and one which I promise you we will do our best to avert happening in the future. We will investigate this, find out who it was that has done such a terrible thing, and to make sure that they come to justice. This is not something that I take pleasure in doing. The death of anyone in our town is a terrible tragedy. But I do want you to know that we are doing everything in our power to make sure that justice will be served and that you will be safe. I believe Halo has some other words he would like to speak. And I hope that I didn't cut out during that whole thing.
No, yeah, we heard you. I thought about jokingly saying, "What was that, Matt?"
And
don't
I
know.
would throw this water in your face. That's right. I'd drive all the way out to there and throw it in your face.
I guess that's fair. What about you there, Zach? Can Zach hear?
Okay.
Oh, there he goes.
So
I think he was writing stuff down.
Halo rises above the table, so he's kind of floating like 5 feet over it, and his light kind of shines really bright to kind of it's the only real light that's not natural from the sun that's shining there. And he raises he kind of like holds himself floating above the table. Today, brothers and sisters, a great tragedy has occurred. And I wish for all of you to bow your heads, and with me, I'd like to pray for his light, if you would. Brightest star, Nalard Sul, may you take his soul and bring it back to you.
May his light stay bright after life.
Afterlife.
You guys have never been to church, have you?
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm not
it's
in
fine,
this
my
church.
friend. That's okay. May the rest of the sisters in the seasons keep watch over his light, now that he has passed from our soil.
May
May
his
his light
light
stay
stay
bright after life.
after life.
And together, may we learn from this tragedy, for those he left behind are still here to keep on his memory.
May his
May
light
his
stay
light
bright.
stay
after
bright
life.
after life.
And of course, it's really weird when you haven't been doing it throughout your whole life, right?
Church is weird.
So together, I ask that we take just a moment of silence, and those who knew him, remember what you can of his time here with us. Those of you who didn't, remember one you've lost, who has now come into the light. And together, I ask we pray.
And I assume that music comes to follow.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I would say, when I first thought about this, I thought of Prince, and then it goes, "Dearly Beloved." But that song is like too rockin', so I would do something that's more like makes you sad, but at the same time you're happy because the person's light is gonna shine after
Just
they're
like
dead.
the
You know?
candle in the wind.
Yeah, something like that. That's gonna make people cry but be happy at the same time. They're gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, this is great," you know, something like that.
This little light of mine.
Yeah, I'm gonna let it shine. Don't put it.
I don't know if it's copyrighted. I think it's okay.
Oh, it's alright. We're alright.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, isn't?
Okay.
Well, that's what I would do. I don't know if you need me to roll performance to see if I can like.
I will want to
roll the
perform it.
physical-
I will want a performance check on this one, yeah.
Yeah, I should because you never know. It may be like so awesome that people remember us forever. Yes!
Oh my
Wow.
god.
Freaking 7. Did you rig this? Is roll 20 rigged now? That I
It's a
always
natural
go good?
20. It's
I'd like to
27.
say roll 20 was always rigged in favor of bards.
And like something happens to people. They
I mean,
just,
dude,
they just
do you remember
break them down
Zelbor?
and then lift them back up.
But no, yeah,
Shit.
the power ballad that you just jam out of nowhere. I'm gonna need everyone present who's a player character to go ahead and make wisdom saving throws real quick.
You're all gonna start crying, and you can't help it.
Can I have advantage? 'Cause I have a heart of stone.
Oh, yeah, you can have advantage.
The heart of
Halo, that shreds.
14.
Dude, yeah, you normally would stalwartly defend yourself against this kind of thing, but you feel the music just fills you. Like you are a student of, this kind of craft. I mean, music and art and such is something that you are very familiar with, but this song so quickly jutted out, like, it's perfect.
That seduced you.
Yeah, you may not feel sorry for the guy who died, but you feel sorry for what's being done to your town. This is really tearing you apart, man, and you're feeling it.
And it's hitting it.
Have you even looked at my character sheet?
It hits it. I mean, there's a soul in there somewhere, and it's
Yeah,
definitely
there's a soul there somewhere.
it's strumming at
I'd
it.
like to say, my flaw is I feel any ill fortune in family or town is my fault. So yeah,
Yeah, you
So,
feel
yeah,
it.
I feel you hit a nerve there.
And
that's literally my flaw.
Tim, it's a good song, but you've never been really much for music.
Tim's gutted one too many monsters from the inside out to
Yeah.
feel anything anymore.
Yeah, it
You
doesn't
can't
Well, the
like
thing is-
feel the liver of another living soul in your hands.
doesn't exactly make the same kind
wait,
of screaming
I'd like to
screeches of
say-
displacer beasts being ripped from
what
belly
I
to
imagine, what I imagine too, is he's just sort of like, huh, this sounds a lot like that gut that I took out a little while ago.
Hey, he's sitting there going, I'm pretty sure he just like changed one of the chords from the last time a guy died.
Perfect.
Yeah, cold, man. Very cold, Tim.
But the people of the temple seem very rallied by this. A lot of them are, a few of them are kind of not terribly sure, and seemed at the start of it to be very kind of frightened of what this means. Like, is this going to be something that affects me? Is there a murderer out there? The two that came with him seemed to be kind of distraught in the beginning, crying throughout the eulogy process, and then as the music kind of hits, they seem to kind of like mellow out into a more somber state. But the genuine like kind of consensus amongst the temple goers and folks is that there's like a definite fear at the beginning. The politician's speech stating that this is going to be something that's fixed, followed by the moving recognition of the individual, and then the sick power ballad was literally exactly the perfect response that they needed. Anything else that you want to do at the temple?
Yes, I just want to make it known after he's done with his power ballad, like after the feast is done, as we're kind of wrapping everything up, anyone who needs to speak with me or who needs an emotional release will have that option today. I will be staying inside of the temple district this evening to like meet with whoever needs to meet with me one-on-one. So like, sorry lady if you need to.
Human.
It's gonna be a long line, I'm assuming.
Human, the notable one that kind of comes up pretty quickly is Human with the Averiu cross from before. Yeah. He comes up. His friend, the one with the Atavian cross, the one who couldn't remember anybody's names, he does not. So you do recognize that being the case. The two who were friends with Lazo, you presume, from the same place at least, they don't come forward.
Okay.
And yeah, several people are very interested in having them, having the calming performed upon them. Okay. Heading back home, El Contra, right?
Yes, I'm going to head back home and do what is my beginning of the week ritual, which is where I will go to the garden next to the keep, where my father has been brought down, and just walk with him through the garden.
Well, I was going to hold off on you.
We don't have to roleplay that.
Well, I'm going to hold off on you for a bit because there's actually something more important than that
That's
to deal with. So, Kevin, Leaf, do you stay with the kind of temple and light revelry? I mean, it's your day off. This is pretty chill, though.
Yeah, but sometimes a certain performance will just like raise you to that next level. So yeah, I think I'd want to stay there and enjoy and help out, with going through a process of grieving and yet still feeling like you have hope in the future. That's what I want. So I'd probably stay there. Yeah, as long as they didn't kick me out.
Your inspiration in your music isn't as direct a method for calming as the calming that's performed by Halo, but it's definitely working for a lot of people. I mean, they're definitely getting it and feeling that vibe. And Ulair, do you stick around or head back?
Afterwards, I'd probably just be back.
Okay. and then Cyril back at home. You managed to get into.
Before
Go ahead.
you leave Quothus, do you want to take any evidence with you? Do you want to take the head with you? What are we doing with that?
That'd be a good idea.
As you're like exiting out, I would try and like hold a moment and like leave the line for a second, fly to you, and be like, I know you're on your way out, but what do you want me to do with the fucking head
well,
thing?
Actually, I might have forgotten. I would have wanted the guards to take the head to the
Okay.
esque thing, whatever that is. I figure it's appropriate to take it.
There is a morgue on
There.
site with the militia, though the town watch. They do have one.
Yeah.
They have a morgue and a small jail, effectively.
Perfect. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we had a plan for that.
Yeah,
Cool.
sorry, I thought about that. I forgot to mention it.
Okay.
Ulaire's then still just heading back home, right?
Yeah, just gonna head back home.
All right, and then Cyril, you're in bed, relaxing, kind of pulling over what notes you can. Every so often, having your attendants kind of either come in to talk with you and kind of chat. Do you have anything in particular you want to say to anyone in specific?
I would just make sure that Arave is not attempting to do anything with the stone by herself.
She shakes her head. No, I'm actually just. I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing because you're going to tell me not to do it.
Please tell me what you're doing.
You left all your paperwork about the thing in the adamantine box on the table upstairs, and I've been pulling over that.
And what have you gleaned from that?
Oh, just everything you've taken down. I haven't come into any ideas of my own yet. I want to see it, but I'm not gonna open it or anything.
Yeah, I would advise against it.
Yeah, I'm not dumb. But
and of course not. That's why you're here. And also just reiterating, we need to keep quiet about this.
of course. She does look at you for a second and says, I think Albrecht knows, though. He's not dumb either, so.
Of course, and you're my trusted people, so.
Well, okay. I'll let him know to make sure he knows not to tell anybody. Or you can.
Great.
Okay. Segment away from you all, and back to Lady Alcantara. You go to the place where your father's currently residing, and as you kind of approach that location, you see a woman, elvish woman, who you've seen a couple of times before, who has arrived at this small settlement. She's never made herself known to you, but on the initial meeting, it was made very clear to you by your father that the only person who is allowed to see him, and this is before his disease worsened, but the only person that was allowed to see him was this woman. Long, flowing, curlyish brown hair, soft skin, typically wearing a very loose kind of fitting dress. Very just windy. The whole just attire is windy. You see her exiting out of the room or the chamber and kind of heading out. She kind of gives you a look and a nod.
I return the nod,
Okay.
and then oh, sorry, you go ahead.
I was going to say, you enter in, and there's your father sitting in, high-backed chair. Looks like he has a cup of tea next to him on a small table. He kind of looks over his shoulder, and he says, I don't think I much want to walk today. I'm sorry.
Are you certain?
Yes.
You do love it there, so.
I know, but... And he just kind of stares off for a while, which you've known him to do.
Right.
And
May I sit?
And he kind of just continues to stare blankly. And then kind of blinks in after about 10 minutes or so. Which is really nothing to an elf, but still impatience. He gestures to the chair. Please have a seat.
Alright, sit.
He kind of stops for a second and looks down at the cup of tea, which you actually now realize, and it's a common occurrence as well, the cup is completely filled with tea, but it looks like it's long since gone cold. And he kind of looks down at it. I spoke to your mother today.
Indeed. What did she say?
She said she loves you. And it's not true what you've heard. She didn't leave because of you. You believe me, right?
So, I say, of course.
He nods.
Tell
Shh.
her when you see her that I love her too.
She knows. She knows. What was her name again?
Yeah, Sarah.
My beloved. Maluriel said. Maluriel. She said it was true. Alcantara, she said it was true, what I'm saying to you. It's
I
not...
know.
You have to talk to her. Your mother. No. No. You have to talk to... Maluriel. Yes. Please. You should be able to catch her in time.
What do I have to talk to Malorial about?
And he looks like he's about to pause for another long duration again. Have another one of his spells.
Well, just as a quick question, Malorial was the woman.
You don't know her name. Your
Okay.
assumption is that might be the case.
Not necessarily knowing her name, I'm going to get him a fresh cup of tea.
Okay. By the time you're done preparing it, he snaps back into awareness, and looks at you. Did you speak to her? It's important. I think.
Where can I find Malorial?
She's and you see him kind of trailing in his own mind, which again, sometimes when you have asked him in the past to recall something, it's been the case where he's unable to kind of ascertain the fog that rests in his mind between him and the Feywild. Kind of, it changes time for him. You know how the disease works. It changes time for him. It kind of creates a situation where things that might have happened a long time ago are easily recalled by a typical elven mind, because it seems like shorter time to him. Feels like a much higher span. And it's harder for him to remember.
So, do I know whether or not that lady will return here? Or
She comes semi-regularly, once or twice every year, since this has been the case, since he's had the matter.
Alright, well, I'm going to, I suppose... I'd imagine she's got some time to get some distance, but
You can
Um,
fly.
Hmm?
You can fly.
that's true. I can fly. Do I know generally what direction she goes?
To have left this place, she would have to go through the keep and out through the front. And by
Are
the,
there windows?
I mean, you would be able to intercept her at the front door because you can just fly over the walls to it.
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
Okay. Not an uncommon sight for the guards in the keep. They watch as their lady takes wing, and you land at the front gate. You see that there's one guard stationed there, and he says, "Oh, my lady."
Has anyone passed by here yet?
One lady entered in. The one allowed by your father, and as he's kind of saying that, you can see the brown-haired woman coming out of the keep, looking at you.
Never mind, I see her. And I'm going to approach.
Alcantara, she says.
You seem to have me at a disadvantage. I've never found out your name.
And the only reason I knew yours is because he would utter it.
So are you Malorial?
I am. I am also related to you. I am your
Raised
father's
eyebrow.
your father's sister.
I see. He said you wanted to speak to me.
I do not think that is true. What exactly did he say?
He said that he'd spoken to my mother, that she loved me, and he said that you wanted to speak to me. He didn't say what about. I tried to ask him, but he seemed to struggle to remember.
Oh. Then it must not be long now, then. She looks to you with kind of very concerned eyes. Your mother does speak to your father, still. By means of magic. A potent spell that allows short messages to be delivered over vast distances. I first thought that it was a part of the ailment, but I was able to witness the magic affecting him and determine its source. Your mother, or someone posing as her, resides in Manigault Bay. And that's where we'll end the session for tonight.
Hooray!
Thanks for watching, and we'll pick up next week. And yeah, we'll deal with experience once we're done with the stream. Have a great night, everyone watching. We did.
Night.